Welcome back into the Rounding Third Baseball Podcast, episode 223. Nostalgic Baseball Geezers, top 50 players of all time. I'm Nick. We have Justin again with us tonight. How we doing, Justin? 2 shows in a row.
Good.
How we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how my voice holds up here. I got a couple glasses of water here. We'll see if I can make it through.
That's
Last
fine.
one I was on with you, you're hardly drinking water at all. You're a machine. I don't know. How you do it.
Yeah. I sneak it in every once in a while. You'll see
Yeah.
it. But yeah, Harrison hopefully will be back on Thursday. He's still under the weather, but we're sending him our best wishes for now. But the show must go on. So we will get into the criteria that Justin used to come up with his top 50. It's intricate, it's incredible. I can't wait to dive into it. So make sure you join us in the chat. But first, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow on Instagram, Rumble, and TikTok. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have our affiliate sponsors, Dick's Sporting Goods, MLB Shop, and Lids. You can find these links on the tops of all of our socials. If you click on these links, you do your shopping for these companies through our links. We get a nice little kickback with no additional cost to you, just a great way to support the podcast. And we also have our Rounding Third merch. So if you go on Rounding Third Baseball on Etsy, you can find some of our Rounding Third Baseball merch. So please go on there, buy a couple shirts, sweatshirts. I know you'd look good in them. So just another great way to support us. All right, here we go. We're jumping into it. Justin, you created this new formula that you came up with.
Yeah.
And I want you to kind of run through it and how you got to these top 50.
Yeah. So kind of the idea came from just looking at other people's lists. So Joe Posnanski's top 100. And when I look at those things, there's always, and this is going to be the same when you look at my list. Like, it'd be crazy if you agreed with every single selection that I chose. Like, that's not going to happen. But I looked at his list and there were some things about it that I didn't love. And I kind of thought to myself, like, how do these people even come up with the order? And how do people just in general, like, I kind of like the psychology of it. Like, why do people decide one person over another when they do these comparisons? And so I didn't want to just kind of go off my gut. So I came up with a criteria. I tried to come up with things that made sense to me. The big thing for me was to have things be proportional to eras. So if I'm looking at different stats, one thing that stands out to me is a lot of these different stats, like the all-time leaders are guys from more than 50 years ago, and the guys that are recent were all guys connected to steroids. So I thought that was kind of a weird thing. And for me, at least, we'll get to the steroids in a little bit, but pre-integration guys, there's just not as much competition. And I'm not, I haven't played at the highest levels, but I certainly remember playing Little League and hitting over 500. And when I got to high school ball, I was not hitting over 500. Like, as you get more competition, it's just going to be harder to put up those insane stats. And, going on to college players there, it's going to be harder than it was in high school. Same thing in the minors and the pros. So these guys who were putting up these insane stats in the 1930s and before, I just felt like they do have kind of a built-in advantage because they weren't playing against all of the best players at that time. So I kind of had a tiered system, and you can kind of see on the screen up there, if they were in that 1920s, 30s, early 40s, I kind of gave them a 10% deduction. If they were in the dead ball era, it's 20%. If they were in the 19th century, it was 30%, and then players in the Negro Leagues was 40%. And that does sound kind of harsh, but I also had to project those players to kind of like full Major League Baseball schedules, which was 154 games then. So I was kind of doing a little bit of projecting for those ones. And those were, the Negro Leagues players were some of the hardest ones to project because some of those guys played in the major leagues and in the Negro Leagues, like Campanella and Jackie Robinson. And that was just a nightmare to kind of figure those out. So I came up with my list. Initially, I was kind of hesitant because it's pretty overwhelming to try to kind of think of all those things. But I'm a fan of don't let great get in the way of being good, and I think it's pretty good. But when I looked at it, I put in all my criteria and stepped back and looked at the list, and there's things that I don't love about it either. So like there's players definitely I'd be like I'd switch them if I could, which I can, but without like changing the criteria. Yeah, there's nothing like about how I set it up that would make sense for me to move certain players.
Yeah, Captain says, I'm sure it's hard to have no biased opinions on players. I know if I ever did this, it would be tough for me to just be like, oh, this guy deserves to be up a couple spots. But
it for sure was like there's definitely some players where for the top 50 that they're kind of there's one guy in particular we'll get to later, but I'm a huge fan of his, and he was like right on the cusp of the top 50, and it was really hard for me. I was like, how could I? And I'm like, no, I can't go ahead and just bump them up for no reason. Like that kind of ruins the whole thing. I managed to go ahead and not fudge with my system after I created it. And we'll talk about players that we think should be high or not, but I do like the psychology of like why do we think certain players are better than others? And a lot of times people don't have like it's just based off of nostalgia or reputation and things like that people go off of. I know for me, my dad growing up, he said Sandy Koufax was the best pitcher he ever saw. And so for me, like hearing that from my dad growing up, it's still to this day like really hard for me to go ahead and rationalize like picking players over Sandy Koufax because I'm like, Sandy Koufax, he's the GOAT. He's who I was told growing up was the best pitcher of all time. Now, I don't think he's the best pitcher of all time, but I certainly can understand people having that argument. Like, that's not a crazy thing to think. Because for a while he was the best pitcher for a nice, 4 or 5 year stretch. But like, do you go off of the entire career? That's what I looked at for these guys instead of just like a 3, 4, or 5 year peak. So there's going to be some players where you're like, yeah, at his best, this guy was better. But I looked at their whole career, not just their top few years.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. John, I mean, it's a great point. It's tough playing the honor system. We all have our guys, right? Roberto Clemente is my guy. I would have been like, top 10 easy. But yeah, we all have different lists, but it's cool how you set the criteria and you stuck to your guns with it. So that's pretty cool. So let's dive right into it. We're starting at 50, working our way to 1. So here we go. From 50 to 46, we got Ken Griffey Jr., Carl Yastrzemski, Turkey Stearns, Jimmy Fox, and Curt Schilling.
Yeah.
So
which guys in there, when you're looking at this list, what are the guys that you're like, that doesn't feel right. That feels like he's too low or too high. What's your gut?
For me right here, it's Griffey and Jimmy Fox. I think. Okay. I mean, Jimmy Fox is over 500 career home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, Griffey has all the offensive statistics, all the defensive statistics. So for me, I feel like those two should be higher. Yeah. I don't know how much higher. I mean, this list is loaded with names. Loaded.
It's like who you bumping then?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I don't know. I mean, yeah, John, no Seattle Mariners bias there at all. None. But I agree. I mean, Griffey, 5-tool player, got to be up.
Yeah.
Not number 50 for me. Like it's a little low. I mean,
and, I grew up influenced by Griffey. Like, he doesn't have quite as much nostalgia as some of the guys from the 80s for me, but like Griffey, wearing that hat backwards, I look stupid wearing my hat backwards. I definitely can't pull it off like Griffey does, but in the 90s, he was the guy. I'm a Chicago White Sox fan. So Frank Thomas, I always, for some reason, you're competitive with these players and you're like, oh, Frank Thomas over Griffey. I don't think that. I think, in hindsight now, even though Griffey wasn't on the White Sox until he was pretty much done, I think he was on the Sox for like a year in his late 30s. But yeah, I mean, Griffey's the better player. He plays center field, which is a much more difficult position defensively to play than, DH first base, which was Big Frank. What kind of bumped Griffey down, because I was similar to you, thinking like, I do feel like Griffey probably is a little bit higher. I'm glad he made the top 50 because I feel like he's a top 50 guy. But pretty much once he left Seattle, his defense went off the cliff.
Well,
So the first half of his career, Gold Glove worthy for sure, like great defense. But then once he leaves Seattle, he's one of these, similar to like Trout and some of these other guys who in their 30s killed it. But then he had a year in Cincinnati hitting really well. And after that, he just kind of fell off. So his longevity doesn't quite match up to some of these other guys, even though, for 10 years, he's, if he kept up that pace, he would have been way higher.
Yeah. I think the injuries too in Cincinnati kind of hurts too. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
He missed a lot of time in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But you're stuck.
And then Jimmy Fox, I'm with you. Jimmy Fox, I do think should be a little bit higher. I bumped him up to towards the top of this tier because of his postseason performance, because that was kind of like a tiebreaker on some of these guys.
Yeah.
And he was part of some great Philadelphia A's championship teams. When he got traded to Boston, he was on fire for about 6 years after he got traded there. He gets a little bit of a deduction because he played, primarily in the 30s, which is before integration. So if that deduction wasn't there, he would have been bumped up. Unlike some of the other guys who, spoiler alert, Gehrig's going to be on the list. Gehrig's a little more well-rounded than Fox. And even though Fox had, hit a ton of home runs, had great career, his longevity is maybe not as great as some of the other guys on the list. He kind of fell off early 30s, which, 21 to 33 was kind of his big years. And after that, he really didn't play much longer. So those are things that kind of, when you're trying to compress it down to these guys in the top 50, if you're missing out on 2 or 3 extra prime years compared to some of these other guys, that's going to drop you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Fox's career numbers are staggering, though. Yeah. 534 homers, 325 batting average, almost 2,000 RBIs. I mean,
And just as a hitter, like if we had just a hitting list, Fox would be way higher, because just on solely hitting, he's up there. Yeah. But another thing, that I tried to kind of balance out too, was based off of positions. So, I only wanted to have a certain amount of first baseman, second baseman, third baseman, so that each position was kind of represented. One thing that I noticed on some of these lists is that, certain positions get shortchanged. And catcher was one. Catcher was a big one that I had to give kind of a bump to in order to kind of have it be proportional to the other positions. Yeah. So we'll get to some catchers later, but playing first base doesn't help Jimmy a ton either.
No. Relievers too. I noticed there's a little bit short on the relievers.
Yeah, there's no relievers. Sorry guys, not going to be any relievers in the top 50. So if you're expecting Mo in there, Mo's the best reliever of all time, but he's not in the top 50.
Yeah, dude, that 90s Mariners roster was stupid. I mean, just crazy. Absolutely gross. I can't believe they didn't win either.
Yeah, throw Jay Buhner in there too. That guy was a beast.
Did you consider DH at all? This is a good question. Did you consider?
I just considered it just like every other position, because most of the guys that were DHs played another position for a little bit, and then the guys that were like almost entire career DH, like Martinez and Ortiz, they just didn't quite stack up to the top 50. So I looked at those guys for sure. Yeah. I didn't look at Harold Baines, so sorry. I looked at probably about 200 some guys. Baines didn't make the initial cut, but I can go back and look. But I have a feeling he's not gonna be in the top 100.
Nice, yeah. Welcome, Stingley. Welcome. All right, let's go 45 through 41. We got Joey D. Knapp. You can say his last name.
LaJoie.
Thank you. And we got Burt Blyleven, Cal Ripken Jr., and George Brett. I always butchered Knapp's last name, so it's
well, LaJoie. We're not sure.
Yeah, anything French I can't pronounce, so don't worry about it.
There you go.
But, all right. I mean, right here, This one was tough for me. I don't know. I think if anyone, it would be Joey D and Ripken. Maybe I would move up a hair.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
DiMaggio's got the war years. Like he missed a big, like right in his prime.
Yeah.
I want to say I'll look it up real quick. I want to say it was 3 years. It might have been four to the war. Yeah, 3 years. So from 43 to 45, DiMaggio, like right in the middle of his career, kind of like Ted Williams. Now Williams missed a little more time, but DiMaggio just really missed out. And I did give him some credit, but for people that missed those years to serving in the war, I did not. I mean, it wasn't like I gave him as much credit as he would have had, probably as he would have played. So I didn't like assume he's going to have, a monster 360, 35 home run season like he probably would have. So without, if I was maybe a little bit more generous in projecting those Warriors, I think, let's see, I would have moved them up about 10 to 12 spots if I was a
Yeah.
little more generous with those years. So that puts them around like 33, 35, which feels a little bit more right. Maybe, next time that I, recalculate things, next year when I redo the list, I'll be a little more generous. But it's one of those things like, he probably would have, but if you don't do it, it's hard to predict.
Would you think about, I mean, you can do it however you want, but would you think
Yeah.
about taking their average of what they played in their career and just plugging those 3 years with that average statistics? So not their best, not their worst, but like
Yeah.
middle of the road just to fill in those years, maybe? I don't know.
No, I thought about doing, I mean, just the years around it basically. So like the year before and after and just kind of merging those together was what I was thinking. But yeah, it yeah, Rip, you're going to start a fight with me, John. Cal Ripken's one of the best all-around shortstops of all time. Like
Yeah.
other than he's, offensively and defensively like in the top 5 on both of those lists. Yeah, he's a chump. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
throw down with me over Ripken. I mean, I agree with you. Ripken, I would think is higher rather than lower. I'm surprised no one said anything in the chat about Burt Blyleven yet. That's one that I looked at on there, and
Mm,
there's definitely a pitcher who's not on the list that in my mind I would, if you're like, I have these two paired up against each other, who do you snap judgment want to take? I feel like Burt Blyleven's more like the 51 to 100 range, and I love Burt Blyleven. I'm a big
yeah.
fan of his, and he had some things working against him. He didn't get to 300 wins, which back when he was pitching in the 70s and 80s, that was a huge thing. There's guys who don't get elected who just didn't have the win totals, and now we don't really think about win
Right.
totals the same way as we did back then. So I was a little surprised he was in the 40s. But I do love Burt Blyleven. And when there's guys on here that I'm kind of like, should they be that high? It does make me kind of go back and look at them more and makes me a little intrigued because it wasn't anything, there wasn't anything that I looked at with him that shouted out that he should be dropped.
Yeah.
It was just, he kind of pitched at a time with a lot of other great pitchers and gets overshadowed sometimes because he didn't get a bunch of wins.
Yeah. All right, 40 through 36, we got Christy Mathewson, Eddie Matthews, Al Kaline, Johnny Bench, and Wade Boggs.
There's Johnny. Get some catchers in there. Yeah, those are some big names.
Yeah, and we're starting to get to the point where we're just going to be nitpicking kind of if we're going to remove anybody, but yeah, I mean, you show up for your job in your best position for anything for 1,000 days. I mean, I agree. Or 2,000 days. What was it? 2,397? 491. I don't know. Math is hard.
Oh man, this guy wants Griffey ahead of Burt. Oh
yeah.
man, I don't know who Burt is, but I'm guessing he's saying Brett maybe.
No, Burt Blyleven.
Oh, ahead of Burt Blyleven. Okay, I was thinking Burt and Ernie. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we're comparing some of these guys, when you're comparing across positions, it's an impossible task. How do you compare a pitcher to a hitter? Really, like. there's not a great way to do that. So for like Blyleven, I compare him to other pitchers more. And for like Griffey, I compare him to other center fielders. And even with other positions like third base, comparing Boggs to Griffey or K-line, like we come up with these systems, but it's kind of an impossible task. I'm doing the best I can on it, and people do these lists and try to go ahead and come up with criteria sometimes they just go with a gut call, and you're like, well, Griffey's got maybe more name power than Wade Boggs, so I'm going to put him above Wade Boggs on the list. So I think how some people do these things.
Yeah, I think the Christy Mathewson one for me too. I mean, definitely the era gave him the hit. But I mean, a 2.13 ERA, 373 wins. I mean, all the stats are there.
He's got crazy stats. Yeah, if you ever look up Christie's stats, and then in the postseason too, unbelievable. 0.97 ERA in the postseason. Like unbelievable stuff. He had the big advantage of pitching in the 1910s.
Right.
Dead ball era. He pitched exclusively in that time frame. He was, by the time we get to the top, players, he's the 7th guy from the dead ball era on this list at this point in the top 40. So that era is already kind of overrepresented a little bit. In the top 100 overall, it's not, but just for like the top 50, there are a lot of these guys from that time period who, even with the deduction, they were so unbelievable, these stats, that they're able to kind of overcome a 20% reduction to their stats. I'm with you. Mathewson, he's one of the first 5 elected to the Hall of Fame. He feels like he should be a little bit higher, but it's that deduction, and the other guys that are in that dead ball era, they're all ridiculous. Like Lajoie, we just talked about, he's the 8th guy from the dead ball era. Like, if you look at these guys' statistics, it's just off the chain how unbelievable their seasons are.
Yeah, it's crazy. Junior, I think, still is the only number 1 overall pick to make the Hall at this point. I don't think there's been another one. Listen,
that's a good one.
Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are going to be on this list when their careers are over.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, did you factor current players into this at all?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some current players on there. Now there's only 1 current player in the top 50, but there's at least 2 other in the bottom half of the top 50 that I can think of. Well, no, there's 4 others, because some of these guys are, they're basically retired. I'm thinking they're retired already. And Judge is not in the top 100, or Ohtani in the top 100 yet, but they've got a lot of time left. So Judge was a little closer than Ohtani right now. But I think Ohtani's younger than Judge, so but who knows? But they're on pace for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and Tanner, I agree with you 1,000% on this. Christie's stats shows he was just a giant of the generation. I mean, it's unreal looking at his stats.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, do yourself a favor and look at some of these stars from the 1890s, 1900s, 1910s. Like, the stats are unreal. In the top 50, there's not some guys from further back in the 1890s like John Clarkson, Tim Keefe, Old Hoss Radburn, but like some of the seasons these guys put up, throwing like 500-600 innings. It's just nuts it's totally different game. Like, it's hard to even fathom when you got guys now who can barely get 200 innings.
Verlander's got to be towards the top 100, I would think, at this point.
Verlander is not in the top 50, but he is in the top 100. So he's one of those active guys.
Yeah.
But he still could add a little bit to his case. Like, Verlander has a chance.
Yeah.
That's very specific, Blake. 30 and 33.
Yeah, that's how old they are. So
gotcha.
I
thought he was saying that's where you'd have him on his like,
no.
He's just like very. I got Judge at 33 specifically.
Yeah, those are their ages. So I knew Judge was older, didn't know by how much, but
I'm kind of surprised Judge is that old, to be honest. It feels like it hasn't been that long since he debuted. But
well, he came up. He came up later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That's one of those ones like Boggs debuted kind of later too. Like you wonder if he would have gotten a couple more early years in there, what the stats would have been like too.
Yeah. All right, 35 through 31, Bullet Rogan. That's also another classic baseball name. Alex Rodriguez, my man, Roberto Clemente, Satchel Paige, and Mike Trout, our
Yeah.
first current player.
Yeah, this is a controversial section for sure. Bullet Rogan's like the official two-way player, like did it for his career. So if you're wondering, like Ohtani, like he has some amazing years. Ohtani does, where when he played both as a hitter and pitcher, but only a couple really. And Bullet Rogan did it for over 10 years. So just that amount of value when you can do both of those things is tough to top. Like when you're playing at an all-star level as a hitter and a pitcher. Like regular players just can't compete with that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Rodriguez got a deduction too.
Yeah.
So Rodriguez got for steroid guys, I gave him a 25% deduction. Guys that we feel pretty confident are steroid guys like Rodriguez and Clemens and Bonds. Yeah. So that's with a deduction. So A-Rod, without that deduction certainly would have been higher. And Trout, I don't know if he'll add more value than that, but Trout's a lot like Griffey in that like his 20s were unreal. Now they're different players. Griffey in his 20s was maybe a better defender. Trout's kind of more of an on-base machine. And even though Griffey, I guess you feel like Griffey might be faster, he's maybe more graceful. Trout was better on the bases for sure than Griffey. So in terms of like ranking them to each other, I've got more nostalgia for Griffey, but I have a hard time arguing against Trout just kind of based off of what he did.
Yeah, Mike Trout is on our what ifs list because his career, we would be looking at top 5 baseball player of all time if we were healthy for an entire career. I know nowadays that's kind of gone by the wayside. Like it's really rare to have a guy play, all 162 for even one season, let alone like Marcus Semien, like 2 or 3 years in a row, or Matt Olson. Matt Olson hasn't missed a bunch of time. Like those days are long gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is I'm okay with where these guys are.
Yeah.
Steroid allegations. Clemente, personal bias, I would like to see up further because his arm was elite. His bat was elite. Me personally would like to see him up there.
Yeah. Well, he's the best defensive right fielder of all time.
Yeah.
By personal opinion and by the stats that back it up, like he's the best in right field defensively. Kind of the interesting thing about Clemente's career is that he started off not as a great hitter. Like he developed into a great hitter. And that's not uncommon for guys. Robin Yount did the same thing, kind of like grew into being a great hitter. And kind of made his name off of his defense his first 5 years with Pittsburgh. And of course, Clemente died and still had a little bit left in the tank. Like he was in his late 30s, but he was still performing at a really high level when he passed. So I didn't add anything for players dying early or anything like that. But that, I think, is something that should be kind of weighed as well. Like, maybe he would have been done, but it does seem like maybe he had a year or two at least left in him where he could have been, at least added to his value.
Yeah. Yeah. Baseball book club, like Trout, Griffey, both top 10 what ifs. Griffey's another one on our list. Jacob deGrom's on there. We have an ongoing list going.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, sure. I was talking with someone earlier today about Dwight Gooden. Like Dwight Gooden, for a few years there, he did seem like he was the best pitcher ever. Like there's so many guys that have these stretches and, it needs to be more than a couple years to be in the top 50. But, you got guys that have 5 to 10 years where they're unbelievable and they just can't sustain that longevity.
Yeah.
Longevity is not easy to do. Like it's not easy to have a 20-year career where you're productive for all 20 years. Like there's some guys that have 20-year careers, but only half of the time they're really productive.
Right. Yeah. All right. Into the top 30 here, we got Pedro Martinez, Grover Alexander, Joe Morgan, Frank Robinson, and Eddie Collins.
Yeah, these are all bangers right here. Like, oof.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue against any of these guys. But Grover Alexander and like Christy Mathewson, those guys are pretty close to each other. Alexander, I had a little bit higher than Mathewson, but when we're talking about 10 spots, it's pretty close. Like it's, if you're feeling like, oh, I'd rather have Mathewson over Alexander, I'm not going to fight you on it. Like, they're both pretty outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Pedro, for me, again, personal bias being a Red Sox fan. But I mean, his 99 and 2000 seasons were just disgusting in the steroid era. So I would
in the height of the steroid era.
I would almost give him a bump.
Yeah.
There because he's pitching against the guys that are all roided out.
He's being compared against other guys at that time, and I think it was the 99 year where like his ERA is like half of the guy in second place.
Yeah, it's not.
It's crazy. It's so much better than his competition that year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both of those years, 99 and 2000, he was just no one could touch him. It was
we'll talk about Pedro, I feel like, coming up in comparison to some of the other pitchers that pitched at the same time as him. Just a foreshadowing. There's other guys who pitched around the same time in that era, and they're all pretty close to each other. So if you're picking Pedro over the other two that we're going to compare him to, like, they're all pretty close. But Pedro's peak, I feel like, is tough to beat.
97 1.9 ERA, 99 2.07, and then 2000 1.74.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy.
And what's kind of weird about Pedro, and you're a Red Sox fan, so you know this, but his peak years didn't match up with their championship years, which would have been nicer. Like, it would have made a nicer story if, like, right at those peak years, that's when they were winning those titles. But he was kind of on the down part of his career when they won those titles. And I know he was still super effective, but he wasn't 99 Pedro when they were winning the championship. He wasn't that complete shutdown guy that he had been, which is unfortunate. It doesn't line up quite like Koufax's did, where like his peak years matched up with his championship years. But, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But I always kind of wish that Pedro's, peak years, he would have been in the World Series. And it was kind of on the downside of his career when he finally made it.
That's a good point. Yeah. But that's what makes baseball so incredible. You can have two superstars or shut down pitchers on your team and not win a thing. So,
or like the Angels with Ohtani and Trout and not even make the playoffs.
Brutal. Yeah, Captain, this would be interesting too if you take like their 5 top seasons just to see what this calculation would be. It'd be crazy. I mean, that's a lot of work, but to pick out just their 5 top teams.
20 hours of work just to find out the 5 seasons for the chat question. I mean, I imagine your guys in the top are still going to be pretty close to the top. Yeah. Like, it might be jumbled up a little bit, but your guys right towards the top, their top 5 seasons are better than the guys we're looking at right now. Yeah. So, if we're talking about, King Felix or Pedro, and honestly, John, you're bringing up Felix. I know you're a Seattle fan. Felix is not in the same conversation as Pedro, in my opinion. There are different levels of superstar. And Felix was great, King Felix, but the top guys, they've got the longevity plus this incredible peak. So they've got the combination of both, and we're starting to get guys in here that are kind of like that. Like Grover Alexander was great longevity and great peak. You talk about Pedro, Grover Alexander, old Pete Alexander. He goes by a lot of different names. Grover Cleveland Alexander. He's got a 5-year peak during the dead ball era that is very Pedro-like. Now it's not going to be as maybe impressive seeming if you compare it to like his peers. But he led the league in ERA for like 5 out of 6 years in a row, just had a dominant stretch. Joe Morgan had a dominant stretch in the 70s. Morgan kind of gets, I think some people are kind of split on him because some people don't kind of buy into the fact that he was the key cog on those Cincinnati Reds teams, the Big Red Machine. But, they didn't win any titles until he got there. Not that that's the only factor, but he certainly was an on-base machine and keyed that lineup. And it takes more than one person, but he was pretty incredible. And actually ended up his defense, I think, is actually a little bit overrated. He could have been higher on the list if his defense maybe matched up his reputation. He was good on defense for a while, but he did not age well defensively.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Top 25. We got Tom Seaver, Oscar Charleston, Mel Ott, Greg Maddux, Lefty Grove.
Yeah, you got Maddux in there, kind of the comparison to Pedro. Maddux pitched a little earlier than Pedro. But yeah, those guys are kind of, Maddux had a little better longevity. That's pretty much the difference there. Not by much. And he had some great years also, end of his Cubs tenure, beginning of his Atlanta tenure. He had 3 or 4 years in a row. I think he might have won 4 Cy Youngs in a row or something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have a problem where any of these guys are right now.
Yeah, and Oscar Charleston's kind of one of those where his reputation over the last 5-10 years has seen a big jump as they've kind of gotten more information. So Major League Baseball tasked seam heads with kind of researching Negro League stats, and some of these guys, based off a reputation, and I don't want to go ahead and knock players, but Cool Papa Bell is an example of a guy whose stats maybe don't quite match his reputation, whereas Oscar Charleston's a guy maybe where his stats kind of bump up his reputation a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And that wasn't information that was out there, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that era is so hard because I wish that they kept stats because we don't know. And I think we're not trying to be biased against them or anything like that. It's just we don't know.
Yeah.
And
for me, it's not that the stats that because seam heads, they looked at box scores in the black newspapers at the time. So they looked at these box scores, but it's a shorter amount of games because they were barnstorming for a lot of the time, which those are not recorded stats. They have some of those stats, but they're not part of the official records for the Negro Leagues. And then also just the competition is not comparable exactly. And that's, that sounds harsh. Once again, it's not their fault. But the competition for everybody back then was just not as good because they weren't all playing together.
Right. Yeah, I agree. All right. Top 20, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, Albert Pujols, Cy Young, Tris Speaker.
Yeah. So Cy Young, it's all longevity. I mean, you can look at his career stats. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Pujols, that's pretty much his St. Louis years. He didn't add a lot of value when he got traded when he signed a free agent contract with LA. His St. Louis years were that good that he kind of pulled a Trout and Griffey where the first half of his career is where all the value happened. But Pujols, his offensive numbers especially, but he was a great defensive first baseman, even though we might not remember him that way. And Clemens has a deduction for steroids, big unit. He kind of gets lumped in my mind with Pedro and Maddux, those three, almost interchangeable. Johnson's got the best combination of peak and longevity out of those guys, though. Yeah. And then Speaker's another dead ball guy, but he gets kind of in the shadow of Ty Cobb, who is coming up in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would bump up Pujols a little bit here. I mean, 3-time MVP, 11-time All-Star, 2 Gold Gloves, like you said, a batting title. I mean, 6 Silver Sluggers, 2 World Series. I mean, 700 home runs. I can keep going.
Yeah.
I think he's a little low here. But again, that's me being personal bias there. But
yeah. Well, and you've seen him too. You know what I mean? I didn't see Tris Speaker and Cy Young play, so you have no idea, what kind of effect they have when you watch them. And for me personally, I love to kind of see how people view, how you view Pujols and what makes you think that. For me, there's a part of me that really, if I enjoy watching the player, that makes me want to kind of rank them higher on these type of lists. And Pujols was so intimidating at the plate. You can imagine him right now kind of crouching over the plate, he's just ready to attack the pitcher. And he had that presence. Yeah. And you don't have any footage of Tris Speaker and Cy Young to kind of see what their presence was like, or whether, Pujols, for example, you can kind of think back to some of these home runs that he just absolutely annihilated.
Right.
Randy Johnson, you can think back to his, unbelievable years winning a championship in Arizona. So you've got these kind of like memories baked into the cake
Right.
that make it like, so you're like, I can't think of a player who's a better hitter than Albert Pujols in his prime. Like, that is a hard thing to even imagine.
Yeah. I got to see Albert Pujols hit 694 at Cincinnati. So that was
Nice.
pretty cool when he was chasing the 700. So I got to see that. John said he saw his 3000th hit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I
I mean,
remember Pujols. It was 2005, the year the White Sox won the World Series, and he was in the NLCS against Houston, and he was up against Bradledge, and it was 1 out away from Houston. Houston eventually did win the series, but it was an elimination game for St. Louis, and he hit a ball that looked like it went to the moon. Like, he
yeah.
crushed it so incredibly hard, and you knew it the second that he hit the ball. This is before there was tons of bat flips, and he just stood there with his bat in his hand, like holding it, kind of like Freddie Freeman in the
Yeah.
World Series this last year. And it was just, those kind of memories, get the nostalgia juices going. So it's hard for me to argue and be like, yeah, I kind of want Albert Pujols to be higher on the list too.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. Listen, the time's coming, John, where we have a time travel machine. We can go back and watch these guys. It's coming.
I feel sadly I probably would go back and watch like a game with Honus Wagner and Ty Cobb or something like that.
Yeah.
I would probably miss a chance to greatly affect history and like go back and be like, well, are you going to see a 1908 World Series game, or are you going to go after baby Hitler? And I'll probably be like, I don't know. Too many, we don't know. Butterfly effect. I think I'm going to watch the baseball game.
I would go watch Walter Johnson to see if he was actually throwing 100. But will we ever see another 700 home run hitter? That's a great question.
It's hard to say never.
Yeah, it is hard, but
there's no one right now that's close.
No, but yeah.
I think is Stanton the home run, the active home run leader right now?
Sounds about right.
And he's not terribly close to 500. I don't know. It's one of those things, like Hall of Fame voters, and like they're greatly influenced by these kind of benchmark stats. Like, if you hit 500 home runs, that's great. It does mean something. Like, you can't hit 500 home runs and be a chump, but is that much better than 475? Like, why is, we just kind of arbitrarily choose some of these things. 300 wins, it's nice. It's nice to have, but I don't put a whole lot of stock in kind of these benchmark things. So if someone doesn't get 700 home runs, it doesn't mean that they're maybe not the best hitter of all time too. Like, you never know who's coming up and can be the next great player at a position. You got Judge, who is putting up, in terms of like peak years, those seasons that he's putting up this year and last year especially are as good as anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You got Bobby Witt Jr. coming up, if he can keep up his pace, which way early, obviously, but maybe we're looking at a future top 20 ball player there all time as well, with the skill set that he has. If he can put together the longevity, he certainly has shown the ability.
Absolutely. So we got Giancarlo Stanton at 429 as the leader, followed by Mike Trout at 387, Paul Goldschmidt 367, then Freeman 352, and then Arenado and Machado round out the top 5, tied at 345.
Yeah.
So no 7 home run hitters there for sure. But all right, top 15. Ricky Henderson, Lou Gehrig, Honus Wagner, Mike Schmidt, Josh Gibson.
Yeah, I got my Grays jersey on for Josh Gibson.
It.
I got only rare opportunities do I get to wear a Grays jersey, and usually when I wear it, they see Gibson on the back and they think Bob Gibson. Like, no, not the same guy, but
no,
both great. So what guys on here are you thinking? Your gut tells you, is that too high or too low for him?
For me,
these are the elite guys now. Like, none of these guys are chumps. So if you're like, that guy's too low, maybe they get bumped down a couple spots, but
I don't know if, again, because we don't know, I don't know if Josh Gibson is high enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't know.
Mean, it's one of those where some people would like him higher, some people would like him lower. He's, just kind of like Oscar Charleston all over the place. He's clearly, based off of everything I looked at with his stats, he's the best hitter. So Randy Johnson, by the way, was at 20, Tanner. So Josh Gibson, he's the top Negro Leagues player on this list. Once again, we'll never know. He could have been, up there with Babe Ruth in terms of the top, 5 overall type players. It's just one of these what ifs. And really, unfortunately for Gibson, he ended up dying shortly after, or maybe it was shortly before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. So he did not have the opportunity to play in the major leagues. He was a little bit older, but he was still putting together some unbelievable seasons.
Yeah.
And so he had a brain tumor, and he had a stroke that killed him from it when he was 35 years old, I think. So, even if, he ended up surviving, I don't know if he would have just timeline matched up to make it in the major leagues. I don't know if they were really going to be willing to sign someone on the wrong side of 30 when there's just a ridiculous amount of talent available for them to pick from once players started integrating. So most of those guys that were getting picked up were in their 20s because teams were looking for guys that were, more of a long-term investment.
Yep. No, I agree fully.
Yeah.
But all right, top 10. Here we go. Walter Johnson, Mickey Mantle, Ty Cobb, Stan the Man Musial, and Rogers Hornsby. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a problem with these guys here because I know who's on the next slide. So I don't have a problem.
I felt like Ty Cobb might be a couple spots higher, but he got deducted from being in the dead ball era, and Hornsby got a little less deduction. So, like, in my heart, I feel like Hornsby and Cobb maybe should be flipped, but this is 5 to 10 or 6 to 10 here, so it's not, it's not like there's that much of a difference. Both are unbelievable hitters. No, Gwynn's not in the top 50. So hate to break it to you, John.
Well,
sorry.
You guys will have your platform to let them have it after we finish the list. I got some names too that I'm going to throw at them. You guys can throw a bunch of names.
I've got some that I'll throw out there too that I definitely feel like should be in the top 50. But we'll fight about Gwynn later. I love Tony Gwynn, by the way, but I don't feel like he necessarily should be in the top 50.
Yeah. Hitters, that's different, completely different argument, but all around baseball players, what we're talking about here. But.
And for Walter Johnson's the top pitcher on the list. So, could he be higher or lower? I don't know. How do you compare pitchers to hitters? There's not a great way to do it. So I don't have any argument with Johnson being much higher or even lower. Let's see. In the chat, someone's mentioned Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige, I think, was 22.
Yeah, he was
a little lower than that. Let me see.
He was.
I'll go back and find him.
I think
Satchel was 32.
32. Yeah.
Yeah. So Satchel was the third Negro Leagues player in there after Gibson and Charleston.
So Arnold, Justin put out a whole criteria, a whole formula of how he did it. And he made different eras, different deductions because they didn't play against everybody, or just different, like steroid eras got deductions. So the formula is pretty intricate. You can go back earlier in the show and you can see what his criteria was. I love all the work he did on it. It's pretty intricate and it's incredible. So
it was painstaking, but it was, the basic idea is that it's proportional so that like one era doesn't have way more guys than another. Just because a lot of these lists really favor like the 1910s, 20s era, especially over, more modern times.
Yeah.
And then, with modern guys, some of these lists just tend to go ahead and be the steroid guys, like guys associated with PEDs. Pujols we have in the top 20, Ricky Henderson and Mike Schmidt are guys that are more modern, that were in that kind of 11 to 20 era. that tend to get forgotten just because they don't have not Pujols, but Schmidt and Henderson. Their offensive stats they can't compare to guys in the 1930s that were at like these peak offensive levels.
Yeah.
So if you're just comparing, those players to each other, and you look at Ricky Henderson and compare him directly to, Lou Gehrig's numbers, I mean, that's going to be a tough comparison to make because the era that they played in, Henderson's was way more defensive oriented and Gehrig's was way more offensive oriented. So they're not going to be exactly the same.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Are you sure? You sure you want to do this top 5? This is where
Yep.
people usually lose it.
Let's go. Top 5. Here we go. Number 5, Barry Bonds. Number 4, Hank Aaron. Number 3, Ted Williams. Number 2, Willie Mays. Number 1, Babe Ruth. And by a lot.
Yeah. And that was with a deduction too. So the big difference between Mays and Ruth, even after the deduction, was Ruth's pitching. So Ruth's pitching is the difference between Mays and Ruth there. And I kind of thought like, what if Ruth had hit his entire career? Would that have, there's what ifs. Maybe he'd be higher, maybe not. I mean, he was pitching in the dead ball era. So his home run numbers he wouldn't have been hitting 60 home runs back in 1915.
Right.
Just wouldn't have happened. So it's hard to say, but based off of what he did, even with deductions for his era, it's too overwhelming of offensive stats overall for Ruth. Like it's unbelievable. If you go back and look at his stats compared to peers, like there's no comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this top 5. I mean, if without the steroid deduction, Bonds is further up, because he had the defensive metrics too.
Oh yeah.
I mean Hank Aaron's career ridiculous. We all know Ted Williams. I am surprised though with the defensive criteria that Ted Williams is still this high.
Yeah, and that's with WAR years, giving them a little bit, like I gave Williams a little bit of credit for his WAR years. If I didn't give him any credit, he would have been number 5 on the list. So I gave him some credit for those years, but it's 5 years he missed, like in the prime of his career where he's hitting 400. Like these are insane years that he was missing because he was serving the country. So I do feel like there is a little bit of credit that should be given. But, if we project his actual numbers to those years, he could be around where Willie's at. So it could be even higher.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want Satchel higher on a list, I mean, I get it. Like, but also at the same time, like, it's also not fair if we have a disproportionate amount of Negro Leagues players on the list. Like, I'm a huge fan of Satchel Paige. He pitched into his 40s in the major leagues. Unbelievable player. He's the top ranked pitcher from the Negro Leagues on the list. But I think there's 5 Negro Leagues guys in the top 50. And that's, based off of the time they played, 1920s and 30s is kind of the time area you're looking at. It wouldn't make a ton of sense to have more than that, really. Like, I think that would be too many. So you're trying to balance it out. These are things like some of these names you're like, I think they should be higher or lower, but then you're also bumping other guys down. So there's lots of levers you can pull. So I get some people wanting, players to be a little higher or lower. That doesn't bother me too much.
So for this, Arnold, like I suggested too, like maybe next time he calculates this next year or whenever, is take his average of when he was playing and plug them into the years that he was at the WAR, because to Justin's point, like we don't know what his numbers would have been. They just aren't there. Like we don't want to penalize him for serving our country. Like that's not what we're trying to do here. But it's hard because it's
a balancing act. Like, do you give him like a year just like he would have, but you don't know. Like he could have gotten injured. Like he didn't have an injury filled career, but you just don't know. So it's, those what ifs when these guys go serve the country. Like I don't want to deduct them, but I also don't want to give them like the full credit as if they had that year. So it's a hard line to kind of draw.
Yeah. Yeah, top five's pretty legit. I'd have Bonds at number 3, Hank at 4, and then Williams. Yeah, I think someone said it back here. I think these are the top 5
Yeah.
as of right now, right? I mean, we have a couple players that are playing right now that could arguably end up towards the top of this list when their career's done.
Yeah.
But they're not yet. So
Yeah.
I think these 5 are pretty interchangeable. For me,
Yeah.
I think I on all my lists, I always put Willie Mays above Babe Ruth for the simple reason he played with baseball integrated.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth didn't. So Babe Ruth didn't face Negro League players. Like Willie Mays has faced all the talent that was available at that time, right? And he was the first 5-tool player. He has all the numbers. He has a couple years missing because of the war and when the prime of his career. So, like, for me personally, it's Willie Mays 1, Babe Ruth 2. That's just my personal bias. But I'm not trying to take
Poznanski's list was the exact same way. So Poznanski had those two flip-flopped. So Poznanski had Mays 1 and Ruth 2. Yeah. I mean, they're all great. You could make a case for any of these guys as the top guy, really. And like you're saying, like Willie Mays, he's got that all-around game. So, like, maybe you prefer your top guy to be, someone who's more balanced in all aspects of the game. Teddy Williams, has a good argument to be the best hitter of the entire crew. So maybe he's going to be in there. Same thing with Bonds. And then Aaron's got the incredible longevity. The home run king before Bonds came along, and really an underrated right fielder, like a solid defensive right fielder, even though he maybe doesn't get credit for that. He's kind of thought of as mostly a hitter.
Yep. Hang on to this, Tanner and John. He's on my list to bring up to him as we speak right now.
We got the snubs list coming up.
So here we go. Justin has released the top 50. We are on to the snubs. These are the snubs that I could think of. If you guys in the chat can think of any of them, just throw them in. But here are the snubs I got. I'll list them and then we can go over them one-on-one. Okay. So here we go. Bob Gibson, Pete Rose, Nolan Ryan, Rafael Palmeiro is like a toss-up for me. I just put him in.
You just like his mustache. Let's be honest. Strong mustache game.
Facts. Derek Jeter.
That's got to be incorporated into the formula.
Yep. Jeter, Rivera, Koufax, Yogi Berra, Ichiro, Ernie Banks, and Warren Spahn. Those are the names that off the top of my head I could think of. So let's start with Bob Gibson. How does he not crack the top 50?
I want him in there. I'm with you. I want Bob Gibson in my top 50. So he's the one that I would have subbed with Blyleven. Blyleven was 42. Yeah, I'd prefer it. Like, if you're saying which guy do you want, Gibson, and that's, there's good reasons why you'd go with Gibson because his peak years are phenomenal. He just doesn't quite have the longevity of some of these other guys, and that dings him a little bit. But in his prime, he's as good as anybody. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen Bob Gibson. He's the one that was really hard for me when I was making the list, not to try to like bump him up. Like, I bumped him up to the top of his tier for his postseason success, but there was no argument I could think of within my criteria that made sense for me to bump him higher. But he's right around the corner. But yeah, I personally would have preferred him to have landed in the top 50 because when I made the list, I'm like, when I'm talking about this, what's my argument for not having him in there? And I don't have a good argument. Like, I came up with the list and he just happened not to be in there. I wish he were in there. I wish that it would have turned out so that he landed in the top 50. But yeah, in my personal opinion, I'd love to have been in the top 50.
All right. Let's skip Pete Rose and go right to Nolan Ryan.
Go back. Yeah. We haven't talked about Pete enough yet.
Yeah, no, not enough. Absolutely. So
Nolan. Yeah. No hitters were not part of the criteria, but I love Nolan Ryan, and looking at, like, he's probably my favorite player. Like, if you just, and this is the kind of dork I am, like, I made up a spinner the other night and just put in all of Nolan Ryan's years and the games that he played in each year, and I just spun it to a random year and then spun it to a random game. And if you just pick a random game for Nolan Ryan, it's insane. Like, or just random games, he's pitching 8 innings, striking out 12 guys, walking 10 guys. Like, it's just, and that's the kind of beauty of Nolan Ryan. Like, he does amazing things. Like, everything's to the extreme with Nolan Ryan. He throws incredibly hard. He has a ton of strikeouts. He walks a ton of guys. He's just like everything to the extreme. Throws a ton of innings. Like, he's an incredible player with a rubber arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also pitched in really favorable home ballparks like the Astrodome. Like, he had unbelievable home ballparks to pitch in, and if you compare his road ERA to some of his peers, it doesn't match up. So, like, if you look at Nolan Ryan's road ERA, and this will seem like, blasphemy, compare him to Bert Blyleven. Bert Blyleven's road ERA is significantly better than Nolan Ryan. Well, I had, there's a limit to how many criteria you can have. I wish I had the mustache bonus in there too. But yeah, I mean, I think Ryan legitimately is not a top 50 one. He's not one that I would put in there. And I think he's an incredible pitcher. I love Nolan Ryan, love watching him, but he just had a lot of advantages, and it gets remembered because of his extreme highs, like those no-hitters. Like, why are like the most no-hitters? Why is that something that ranks someone higher in value? Your top no-hitters, guys, and I looked this up the other day, so this is going to seem like random knowledge, but I did a trivia question on it. So you've got Nolan Ryan with the most no-hitters, Koufax after that, and then you've got Bob Feller, Cy Young with 3 each, and then Larry Corcoran. Larry Corcoran. I love Larry Corcoran. Don't get me wrong. 1880s star. But no one's having Larry Corcoran in their top 5, 10 pitchers of all time. So these are, is it cool? Yeah, no-hitters are cool. But for a whole career, whether someone has 7 no-hitters or 1 or none, that helps you for that year. But it doesn't really move the needle too much for an entire career. But, talking about 5,000 innings, if he had no hitters, I don't know how much that would have really changed things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Justin Verlander's got 3 no-hitters too.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot more modern guys. Verlander's in there too.
Ryan strikeouts, though. Bobby Bonilla, top 50, Jason, just based on contract negotiations. Yep, 1,000%.
And that's another thing, like, not that Bobby Bonilla is the most lovable, but like how the player is, like their personality. Like, Rogers Hornsby did not have a great personality by all accounts, and was a prickly teammate to deal with. But that's not something that's considered in here.
Right.
So like how nice they were and how much you want to root for him. Stan Musial, unbelievable person by all accounts, but his like ranking had nothing to do with how nice he was.
Baseball history dork. Who doesn't love Larry Corcoran?
You love Larry Corcoran,
yeah.
Boris. That's who loves Larry Corcoran.
All right.
Hey, he played for the Chicago White Stockings back in their early. This is like one of the first baseball dynasties. So Larry Corcoran, shout out for him. He's not going to get many.
No. All right. Let's. Who do you want to tackle next? You want to tackle Pete Rose here?
Sure, we'll tackle Pete. I will say, hey, if you're watching this, you get the inside scoop on Pete. He is in the top 100. He's just not in the top 50. So Pete Rose, incredible player, incredible longevity. He just didn't quite make it to the top 50 of all time. So much love for Pete. I'm a Hall of Fame proponent for him. I know he's not the greatest person in the world, but he is a great ball player. No doubt about it.
Yep. With 3 Cy Youngs, put Ryan in the top 50.
Nope, Cy Young awards were not part of the criteria. So MVPs, Cy Youngs, it's just based off of your total career. So some of these players, when you look at their total career, individual seasons, and this guy wasn't in the top 50, but he's a good example for it. Like Lou Whitaker. Lou Whitaker is like steady as she goes. Whole career, he does not have a ton of highs and a ton of lows. So in like your mind, you're like, Lou Whitaker, where is this year that he was like so unbelievable that he should be considered for like the Hall of Fame even? He's not going to have like one standout year because that's just not how his career played out. He was just steady throughout his entire career. And then you have other players who have these incredible peaks. And typically I find like people like those players who have like the really high peaks. With the exception, I think Nolan Ryan is an exception there because people remember his no hitters and just some incredible performances.
Yeah.
So he does. Some players don't have that crazy high peak. I just kind of the opinion, like, it doesn't really matter to me how your production's distributed throughout your career, like whether it's all in a few years or perfectly spread out. To me, that doesn't much matter. Like, it's all helping your team win, whether it's over the course of 10 years or 20 years. It's all production.
Yeah. Texas Repo, Justin made this list at the beginning of the show. He went through all the criteria and the math that came up with this. This isn't necessarily his personal list.
No.
This is a criteria that he tried to build himself to create it so the math worked.
Right.
And I think mostly it did. I mean, there's a couple of snubs, which he has some, and I have some here that we're kind of talking about now. So he's trying not to be biased.
Yes, that is the whole point of it, is that I put out the list before I came up with the criteria and just stuck to it. Yeah. So Bob Gibson for sure would have been in my top 50 if I was making the list.
Yeah.
So that's, he's the perfect example. Like, I want Bob Gibson in my top 50. He's my biggest complaint of all these snubs. So I wish he were in there.
Yeah.
But there is, other than giving a Bob Gibson point boost, there was nothing I could look at. Yeah. Like, I mean, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just be like, all the players that I like, they get special criteria votes. So
yeah. Oh, did you consider Sadahara out of Japan?
I did not, and he was on Poznansky's top 100 list. Definitely, someone who could be in the top 100 ball players of all time. There was just, for me, no comparable way. So there's a couple areas that I tried to go ahead and project for players who played in Japan. I couldn't do it. Players who played in the Negro Leagues before the official National Negro League started in 1920. So there's some players like Smokey Joe Robinson, Smokey Joe Williams, and Pop Lloyd, who were really great players, but there was just not a great way for me to go ahead and project them. So I couldn't figure out a way to project them in a fair way that fit with my criteria. Right. So those guys, they're not on our snub list, but I could definitely see a case for them too.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin, appreciate the work, man. How long did it take you to make the list?
It took, for the coming up with the criteria, took probably 5 hours or so. And then it was most of the time was just entering in all the data. So I'm an Excel guy. So it's just like manually entering in all this data. Took forever. So that was the thing that took most of the time, is just manually entering the data and then sorting it and ranking it and publishing it. Like, that's where I'm at right now. I'm basically done with the top 100. I've got the top 90 for sure solidified. I just like to double check things and make sure I don't make mistakes. So the last 10 I'm figuring out still, but I'm pretty sure I know who they are. But it's just like going back and like writing it for my Facebook page, Nostalgic Baseball Geezer, and like publishing it. That's what takes a lot of time now. Yeah. So like data entry and publishing it is the stuff that takes time. The actual criteria, it took a while to think about, but once I kind of came up with the general ideas, it was, more like just minor tweaking, and then just crazy amount of data entry. Cause I looked at a little over 200 players. I think it was 250 by the time I was done. Cause there'd be other guys I'd be like, oh, I forgot about this guy. Let's plug him in. None of the guys that I had kind of forgotten about initially were in the top 100. So it was just extra data because I was worried I might be forgetting someone.
So have you thought about doing this without setting limits on positions? Like,
yeah, I understand a lot of people do these lists without it. I just don't think that the position that for sure gets screwed over is catcher. Right. Like catcher, if you go off of like WAR exclusively, catcher, I think it was Johnny Bench is in the top 100 and there's no other catcher in the top, maybe it's top 80 or something like that. Like Johnny Bench is the only guy that's anywhere close if you were to go off of WAR or something like that. Yeah. So catcher gets completely underrepresented. And the main reason, catcher is a tough position to play. So like when you
Right.
look at these guys like Johnny Bench isn't even like the top of the longevity list. Like your top longevity guys like Pudge Rodriguez, Yadi Molina,
Right.
Gary Carter, Bob Boone, like these guys, it's unbelievable like how they were even able to do this. Like you and I were talking like players back in like the 1880s, 90s, 1900s, like they did not even have proper equipment and gloves to play catcher. Like I don't know how they did it. I don't know
Yeah.
how you could catch 10 years back then without
Nope.
dying. So
No. It's crazy.
catching's an unbelievable, and it's a tricky position too because like that role has changed. Modern catchers, they're not so much like this coach role like old catchers used to be. Not to say they're not a field general, but like Yadi Molina's role compared to like Yogi Berra, like those are vastly different. Yadi Molina's got a bunch of people giving him information about how to play players and how to pitch them, whereas Berra's just going off of his memory. Like,
Right.
and he's out there trying to coach up pitchers. They're not going over things to the same extent with modern technology and have those advantages that catchers do now. So catcher's a tough position.
Yeah.
And if you don't have positional limits, catcher's going to get screwed over for sure. And you'll probably have maybe overrepresentation for positions like first base would be my guess.
Yeah. Fair.
And maybe
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. Maybe there should be more first basemen on the list. I don't know. I just thought I'd make it roughly
Yeah.
even.
No, I like how you did that for sure. Yeah, it's gone are the days of like Kurt Schilling, they said would had like 3-ring binders. He had a bookshelf in the clubhouse of every team, their lineups. He kept his own like books on hitters and he would learn how to attack them by what he wrote down for notes. Like gone are those days because of technology.
Right.
But it's just it's crazy because catchers had to do that themselves. Like there was just charts and graphs, and that's all they could go on by then. But technology has completely taken that out. But all right, last name I want to ask you about is it's come up in the chat a few times is Ichiro. So
yeah.
So with
So
his
Ichiro's
Japan
kind of a tough
stats,
one.
yeah, because
Yeah.
of his Japan stats too, he'd have over the hit total that Pete Rose would have if you incorporated both leagues.
Yeah, and that was the tough part for him. So the best kind of middle ground is I kind of treated his Japan years like they were war years. So that was my kind of like I didn't have a great way to compare Japanese stats to MLB stats. So I kind of treated it like he was at war for those years, kind of like Ted Williams was. So that was my way I kind of balanced that out the best I could. But that's another one. Like since those Japanese stats were really hard to predict, would those years have gotten him more credit? Were he actually in the major leagues? I probably think so. Like there's no reason to think that they wouldn't help him out quite a bit more. But that's another thing. Those Japanese stats, I didn't have a great way, along with Negro leagues players before 1920, that I was happy with for projecting. So I just didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't feel like I could go ahead and like explain it or rationalize it in a way that I felt like I could get behind. So that's just, for me, that's more like a personal, like I can't get behind my projection on this. So therefore I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's fair. Texas Repo, he used postseason success as kind of like a tiebreaker in his criteria. So if there was kind of like a tie or they were close, he would use their postseason projection to bump them up a couple spots. So
yeah, so Jimmy Fox is a great example. Joe DiMaggio, those guys got bumped up kind of the top of the players that were roughly scored about the same because they had great postseason success. DiMaggio got 9 rings. Fox was just a beast in the postseason hitting. Well, I should have said beast in the postseason. He was a beast all the time. So he continued being a beast in the postseason. He didn't tougher competition didn't phase him. He was just crushing it whenever he got to the plate.
Okay. All right. So who is on your snub list that I haven't brought up?
Well, Gibson we talked about.
Yeah.
Out of these guys, I think the next best. I'm trying not to show my cards here on the next guys on my list.
Okay. Well, then you don't have to. Then you don't have to.
So Sandy Koufax gets me with the nostalgia, which we talked about earlier. Man, I love watching old footage of Sandy Koufax. Like he is just ridiculous. A beautiful pitcher to watch. His fastball and curveball from the left side. Like he holds up when you watch footage of him, like how he looks.
Yeah.
You could imagine him pitching today, and he would fit right in.
Yeah.
But I think his exclusion from the top 50 is really easily explained. He just didn't have the
Longevity. Yeah.
So that's where that comes from. Spawn is kind of a tough one. Like Spawn, I kind of feel like should be in the top 50 because he's got kind of a good combination of both. Like he had great peak years, won a World Series with the Braves, and also like I think he threw over 5,000 innings. Like Spawn was a workhorse.
Yeah.
So I kind of think he's, and I know where he's ranked. It's not far outside of the top 50, but yeah, like I could definitely get behind an argument for Warren Spahn being in the top 50 for sure.
5,243 and
That's
2/3
crazy.
innings.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Man. I haven't even been alive the amount of time he's been on a mound pitching in the major leagues.
Yeah. And Spahn, he had
wild.
that ridiculous, I want to say it was like
and military service.
He had like a 16 inning game against Juan Marichal, where it was one of the best games ever pitched. It was towards the end of his career too. I think it was like 40 when it happened. And yeah, you said he missed some time with serving the country too.
Three.
So Spahn for sure is one of those guys where I think you could rationalize getting him in that top 50. There's nothing that I noticed in my formula that's really shorten him, but in my mind, yeah, he feels like a top 50 guy based off of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. All right. Well, I appreciate all the work that you have done into this. This was absolutely insane. It took me a minute to wrap my mind around it because I've said it numerous times. I don't math. But I love how you laid out the entire criteria. You weren't biased on it because, my stupid ass, I totally would have been. I would have spent all this time.
Hard not to be.
Yeah, I would have laid this all out and then have been like, well, whatever.
Right.
Like, I know I would have done it. I don't have the self-discipline. So this was absolutely incredible. I love the discussion that it sparked in the chat for us. So it's absolutely great. I can't wait to see the next 50. Have you on. We'll talk about the next 50 in a couple months here after you release it. But in the chat, if you have not followed Nostalgic Baseball Geezer on Facebook, you absolutely need to check out his stuff. He does incredible work. As you can see here, very knowledgeable. And the list was incredible. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and kind of what I think of with these lists, and this is why I appreciate your show. When people are discussing these things, we're all baseball fans. To me, if someone's coming at me really hard about Derek Jeter being in my top 50, I personally don't think he should be in my top 50. Even with some of the things in my criteria that I wish Gibson would be in there. I think Spahn probably could be there. I kind of am rooting for Koufax to be in there, even though I know his career is short. But these are baseball discussions. These are all opinions. Who's to say? If you're really hard up for Jeter being in your top 50, yeah, go for it. I don't care.
Right.
He's a great player. I'm not saying Derek Jeter's not a fantastic ball player. Of course he's a great player.
Right.
So it's all in good fun, and your show does a good job of, I think the viewers that you have, they're respectful. Everyone's got their opinions on things.
Yeah.
But we're not, when people are kind of yelling about certain players being in or not and saying oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about because you don't have my guy in there. I understand that feeling. But I'm a White Sox fan. My guys are Carlton Fisk and Frank Thomas. They're not in the top 50.
Right.
I also don't think they should be in the top 50. Removing myself from my own nostalgia from my childhood. I loved Pudge Fisk. I don't think he's a top 50 player of all time.
Yeah.
In hindsight, my kid mind thinks he is, but my adult mind is when you look at his whole career, Bench is better. Bench is better than Fisk.
Yeah.
Bench deserves to be in the top 50. There's probably a couple other players, and you're a Red Sox fan, so you got some fond memories of Fisk hitting that Game 6 home in the 75 series.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to kind of put those things to the side when you're doing things like this. I tried not to let it influence my thinking. I tried not to have a Bob Gibson bump or anything like that, or a Chicago White Sox player bump or anything like that.
I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And that's what makes baseball so unique to me is I could go and set my own criteria and stick to it
Yeah.
and have a completely different top 50. Like that's what makes this game so incredible is we all, like you said, we all have different opinions. We all value different things in the game that would make our list unique and different. Would we have crossover? I would sure hope so.
Yeah.
But we would have them in different spots for different reasons. You just did an incredible job on this. You can tell how hard you worked on it. So we appreciate
I tried to come up with a formula instead of just going off my gut because, to me, that's what a lot of these lists feel like is just, here's who I feel like. And you don't, if it's your guy, of course you can come up with like mushy arguments.
Right.
If I'm pushing Ernie Banks, I can be like, let's look at him in the late 50s. Yeah. I mean, Ernie Banks in the late 50s, he's probably behind Willie Mays and Hank Aaron in terms of like best players in the late 50s.
Right.
So like you can manipulate arguments to push whoever you want. So that's what I was trying to. There weren't a lot of lists that I noticed. There was one Baseball Egg, that website. I don't know if you've checked it out. They had a formula as well. But if you think mine's dicey, if you're like looking at my list and you're like, oh, I don't know about this guy in the top 50, go look at Baseball Eggs. There's definitely some guys in there that you'll be squinting at and you'll be like, what? That guy's in the top 100? But I mean, when we get to the bottom half, these guys in the top 50, it's hard to argue too much against any of them. But when we get to the bottom part of the top 100, there's some guys in there that you might look at and you're like, that guy's not even in the Hall of Fame. I'm not even sure I think that guy should be in the Hall of Fame. And you're not including this other guy who's a childhood hero of mine. So, that'll lead to some fun conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tanner, I actually just put it in my notes, top 50 relievers. I think that's a project I could definitely work on at some point.
I mean, I have a really hard time with relief pitchers. And
it's hard.
Mo Rivera is my top guy.
After that, you have guys
I like a lot.
Yeah, you have these guys in the 70s like Mike Marshall. I don't know if you've ever looked at his stats, but
I have. Yeah.
He would come in the second inning, relief the game, but like finish the game. And he won a Cy Young, like crazy.
I want to say 74, but like mid to early 70s, he had a couple years where he was. I want to say he pitched like almost 200 innings in relief, like basically a starter's workload.
Yeah,
as a relief pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. But
Hoyt Wilhelm, knuckleballer, one of my favorite guys in relief. Everyone loves Raleigh Fingers.
Yeah,
and his mustache. I think Billy Wagner fits in pretty nicely. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the innings that some of those older guys do, but I think he's he's in the Hall of Fame, so he's not that underrated now. But it kind of took me a while to get on board with Billy Wagner, and then I kind of looked at his stats, and I think sometimes these modern guys, you're like, he doesn't stand out to me as much as these old names that I've heard, but I think Wagner holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I do too.
When you compare him to some of these guys that are in the Hall, I think he's got a better case than like Lee Smith or Bruce Sutter. Blasphemy. Sorry, I said it.
Yep. But
Eckersley did both. Eckersley is, he's probably my favorite relief pitcher of all time.
Yeah, Smoltz did both too.
Plus he's going against Gibson in the World Series. Then I don't like him.
Right. All right. Well, thanks again, Justin. It was absolutely incredible. The work was, it shows how much work you put into it. So it was a great list, and thanks for coming on and sharing.
It's a labor of love, man. So thanks for having me on and shooting the breeze. There's nothing I like more than just talking about baseball players. So it's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow Nostalgic Baseball Geezer on Facebook right now. I'm going to stay on and hopefully carry the show without Harrison, but thanks again, Justin. Really appreciate it. All right, we'll see you. All right, fellas. We're going to get into the MLB news for this week. Here we go. Starting off, Brandon Hyde out as Orioles manager after the 15-29 start. And then the Nationals just go on and sweep them again this series. So third manager fired this year already. And no coincidence, it's the teams with the three worst records. So we got Shelton's out, Black's out, Hyde's out. So we come on Sunday nights and Thursday nights. So that's when we are on. But Yeah, so Shelton, Black, and Hyde, Pirates, Rockies, and Orioles have the 3 worst records so far this year. They're all out as managers. Are these warranted firings, or is this the front office's fault? For me, this is the front office's fault. 1,000%. They're not building a team. The Pirates haven't signed a multi-year free agent deal since 2016. It's all these one-year deals. It's definitely the Pirates' fault there. That is not on Shelton at all. Bud Black and the Rockies, I think he's had his job longer than he should have because he's in a division where they know the Rockies can't compete. The Rockies cannot compete with the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, or the Padres. They can't. And the Orioles, John, I don't know what happened there. Well, I mean, I do. I've said it a couple, I've been saying it all offseason. I picked the Orioles to finish 4th in the AL East because they did not replace Corbin Burns. They did not replace Anthony Santander. There's no way. I'm with you here. The Hyde firing was, I don't know if it's unwarranted as much as, I think it was shocking. They know that it's Young. The front office didn't give him what he needed in the offseason. So, well, okay, then I guess it's unwarranted, I guess. But I didn't really see it coming. But what are you going to change in that Orioles team to get them to win again? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I guess you have to at that point. I'm not really sure. And yeah, Arnold, I agree with you. It's the owners. These guys are happy to pocket the revenue share and not spend it on their team. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. But yeah, Hyde's a top 5 manager. I mean, the Orioles have made him look really good the last couple of years, making the playoffs here. But the youth is starting to show its head right now, right? They seem to be a little bit over their head. Yes, the lineup can still hit, but they don't have pitching. And maybe that is the front office's fault to not get them the replacement for Burns. I mean, their whole starting rotation's been on the IL. Grayson Rodriguez can't even stay on the field for more than a start. So it's definitely the pitching with the Orioles. Not necessarily Hyde's fault, but what are you going to do to turn that Orioles team around? I don't know. John, I'm with you. The Pirates are going to turn Scanes into Felix. Yeah, I don't know at any point Scanes just gets tired of it and asks for a trade. Not next year, not the year after. Maybe they deal him away before they sign him to an extension. He won't be a Pittsburgh Pirate. It will just be like Garrett Cole and Tyler Glasnow and Shane Baz. They'll get rid of all those guys when they are up for an extension. But yeah, the owners don't want to spend the money. Absolutely. But I agree with this point, Captain, 100%. You could make an argument that it is the front office. Orioles should be better than what they're playing. But again, their pitching is a huge black hole right now. They can't get anybody out. Yeah, Padres' first team in history get 2 coaches fired in the same week. They went to Pittsburgh, boom, Shelton out. They go to Colorado, boom, Black's out. Just absolutely crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I think they have to fix something in the next CBA where they make these owners spend money. There has to be a floor. If you want a cap, there has to be a floor because these teams need to spend money. The fact that I just said it, the Pirates have not signed a multi-year free agent deal since 2016 is gross. It's asinine. There's no need for it. I think they extended Brian Reynolds. That's really the only multi-year one they did. The last contract they signed, free agent-wise, was Ivan Nova. Ivan Nova was the last multi-year free agent contract they sold. It's crazy. It's out of the 3, Hyde definitely shocked me the most. But we'll see if the Orioles can turn it around. I'm not sure that they can at this point. I think they're too far gone. I mean, obviously, what did I say? 15-29. That was when he got fired. They lost 2 more games, so they're 15-31. Absolutely crazy. But all right, Jose Alvarado suspended 80 games for testing positive for banned performance enhancing drug. That just came out today. When will these guys learn, or will they ever? This one still blows my mind. We had the Jerks and Profar one earlier this year. Now we got Alvarado testing positive. That Phillies bullpen now is in absolute shambles. Now I don't know which way they're going to go. There's no excuse for this anymore. I don't understand why this is still happening. They have safeguards in place. If you have to take something for fertility, or your doctor's prescribing you something, you can get it cleared by the MLB. So if it does come up on a P test or urine test, whatever, like, you're safe. You can't take this stuff willy-nilly anymore. I don't understand why this just keeps continuing to happen. I don't understand it. Yeah, go kick rocks, and he's not postseason eligible as well. Yeah, as soon as you are on you're suspended 80 games for PEDs, you're not eligible for the postseason. So even if he comes back and pitches at the end of the season, he can't pitch in the postseason, which I think is an absolute great punishment for that. And my fact, they should just be gone from the MLB. There's too many young kids coming up wanting a spot. You're stealing money from these kids that are working their butts off to get to the MLB level, and you're taking a spot from them by being greedy and taking drugs to keep your job. Nope. I'm done with it at this point. So absolutely. Yeah, I'll get to Mick Abel in a little bit. His start was electric today for the Phillies. That he was a great surprise, and he looked calm and collected. He didn't get too high, he didn't get too low. He was just even Steven the whole game, and he was just absolutely nails today. He was incredible to watch. What are my thoughts about owners like Nutting and Fisher owning a franchise? I mean, I would love the opportunity to own a franchise. That being said, like, I don't know. It's hard, because if you're an owner of anything, right? A local business, a farm stand out in the front of your house, like, what's your first priority? Like, why are you opening that business? To make money, right? Like, I know it's sports and it's dependent on fans and ticket sales and all of that stuff, but like, their first priority is to make money for themselves. Like, I get that aspect of it. Sports is such a unique spot. I don't know. I think the CBA and the MLB has to come in and tell these owners that they have to spend a certain amount of money. I don't know if you can push these owners out. I know they're possibly trying to push the Rays owner out because he's not getting along with Tampa. That whole stadium thing's a mess. So I don't really know. And I agree with this point, Arnold, 100%. If you buy a baseball team, you should be prepared to spend for it. I agree to a certain degree. So, like, if the Rockies are for sale right now, right? They're valued at 1.8 billion. I know that if I go and buy the Rockies, I'm going to be in last place. I'm going to have to spend another $1 to $2 billion to even get them back to being competitive. Do I have $5 billion to drop on that franchise? Like, I don't know. Like, there's not many Steve Cohens out there, or 20 billionaire groups like the Dodgers, right? Or the Fenway Sports Group in Boston, right? There just isn't many out there. Like, the Rockies are family owned. So it's hard for them to they're in a tough market to begin with. And then it's hard for them to keep dropping millions and millions and millions of dollars and just being in the red year after year after year after year. Like, I get that they should have to spend a certain amount every year, but I also get why they don't want to, right? It's hard. It's such a delicate balancing act. But I don't know what they do to fix it at this point. I mean, unless you got 30 billionaires out there ready to buy an MLB team, I don't know how it gets fixed, other than possibly putting the floor in. I don't know. Um, but yeah. And this is a great point too. You cheat in college, you get kicked out. Same shit happened with PEDs. I'm at that point now. Like we are 25 years out of the steroid era. This shouldn't even be an issue anymore. Um, I I don't know. There's no excuse for this anymore. All right. Right before we came on, Dodgers announced that Chris Taylor was released by the Dodgers after 9 years to make room for Tommy Edmonds' activation off the IL. This is a tough one. I mean, I know Chris Taylor's not really performing like he has for the Dodgers in the past. I think he's hitting like barely over the Mendoza line. But when he's not getting full playing time, it's hard for you to get good, consistent quality at bats, and that's what happens. Your play suffers when you don't see time on the field. So Chris Taylor released by the Dodgers. So we'll see what happens there. I think with the addition of Dalton Rushing, who came up in his first 2 games, he's got two multi-hit games already for the Dodgers. That's another spot. Captain, this could happen. I mean, Seattle could bring him in for cheap. Absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be a few teams that check in on Chris Taylor for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's been that long. I looked at it today. I think he was with the Mariners for what, 2.5, 3 years, and then he's been with the Dodgers ever since for 9 years. So pretty crazy. Yeah, and he was a mainstay for so long, and he's had some big hits for those Dodgers teams too. So it was kind of a little shocking to me, but all right. Aaron Nola hits the 15-day IL with right ankle sprain. So far this year, 1-7 win-loss record, 6.16 ERA, 49 2/3 innings, and 9 games started. He does not look right now. Maybe this 15-day IL, they say it's an ankle sprain. I know as a Red Sox fan, Tanner Houck just kind of had a shoulder flare up, and they're going to skip a start. I think this is kind of their way to say, yeah, he's injured, but we're going to just skip his start to get him to reset. So maybe that's what this will, because Aaron Nola needs to turn it around. Phillies team's pretty hot right now, but yeah, Mets fan, you're going to love it. Yeah. But yeah, Nola's off to a really, really tough start. And, we could see, I'm just blanking on his name. We were just talking about him. Who's the kid that came up today? Oh, Mick Abel came up and dealt. I know they were talking about it on the telecast. I was watching the game. They said that he was only going to come up for 1 start and then go back down. But the way the kid pitched, I don't know how you send him back down. But I really don't. You got too many question marks in that rotation right now and in that bullpen. Yeah, I think he has to stay at the club after the start he just had, right? There's no way the Phillies can meet after the game and sit down and talk and be like, oh, yeah, we got to send him back down to AAA. There's no way. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, thanks. Really appreciate it. My other co-host actually has been sick the last couple shows. Justin's just a special guest. You'll see pop on. We have a couple historians that pop on like once a month, and they kind of flip-flop. But we are on Sunday nights and we're on Thursday nights. But yeah, this is only my second show doing it solo. So I mean, you guys in the chat help me carry this, so I really appreciate it. But yeah, the Phillies, how are you guys feeling about the Phillies going forward? I don't know. I mean, their offense is good. There's no question that their offense is good. Are they going to be like, I'll bring up my Red Sox again. They can hit the ball like crazy, but they can't prevent runs late in the games, right? Red Sox get a 4-0 lead and they end up losing 6-4 because our bullpen blows it. Are the Phillies that same way? And do you trust Jordan Romano on the back end? I don't know. Yeah, Rafael Devers is on a heater right now after all that stuff that's been going on with him. He is on a heater for sure. Yeah, John. Yep, absolutely. I was on Thursday solo too. I was on for like good 3 hours, so I had a decent show and a lot to talk about. You guys are killing it in the chat. That's helping me. So, Yeah, Harrison will be back on. He's doing better, so you'll get to see him. He's usually the color guy. So, anyways, moving on. Carlos Correa lands on the 7-day concussion protocol list, which I didn't necessarily know was a thing in baseball. I mean, obviously you hear about it in football all the time. I didn't know the concussion list was necessarily a thing. This Twins team just got their 13-game win streak snapped today. They lost to the Brewers. But I still don't know. Do you guys believe in the Twins? I'm wearing the Twins hat today, but because of the 13-game win streak they just had, but they're still in 4th place. I mean, you win 13 games in a row, the longest streak in the major so far this year, and you're still in 4th. Probably not buying what you got going on. They can't keep their stars on the field, although Royce Lewis came back today, hit a home run because that's what he does, but he'll be hurt next week. Byron Buxton's still on the field somehow after this collision. He did get taken off. He got taken out of the game after the inning after the collision happened. But Correa is out for at least a week here, so we'll see what happens with that. But I don't think I'm buying the Twins. The AL Central is too deep. You got the Tigers that are clearly the best team in the AL Central, if not the AL right now. I think they're the most consistent team. I think they're the first team to reach 30 wins, I believe I saw today. So they're rolling. That Tigers team is legit. Yeah, they're 31-16. So they are the first team to 30 wins this year. And they're freaking good, man. I think they are the best team going right now. They're so deep. Twins are cursed. Yeah, I agree. I said it last week. I was like, somebody needs to get the bad injury juju out of there. They need an exorcism of some sort to get whatever it is in Minnesota out. I'm afraid to even travel to Target Field to see a game because I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. So it's crazy. Tigers will be there in the end. I agree. They're so deep. They have so much versatility in their lineup. Their rotation is good. Getting Jack Flaherty, I said in the offseason, was the biggest priority. Not necessarily Jack Flaherty. I said they needed a bona fide number 2 behind Tarek Skubal, and they did. They went out and got him. So they did that well. Jackson Job's only going to get better. Reese Olson's been dealing. And Twins are fool's gold. I agree with you. Bring your sage, Captain. Yeah, agree. Yep, definitely. Wilmer Flores. Now, this dude has been on a tear. I think he's got 42 RBIs already on the season. He hit a grand slam, 3-run shot, and a solo shot, drove in 8 of the 9 runs against the A's Friday night. He has been crushing it for the Giants. And that Giants team is pretty legit right now. But I ask you guys in the chat, which team do you believe in more? The Giants, the Cardinals, or the Twins? See, I think all 3 of these are kind of overperforming right now. I picked the Cardinals to finish last in the NL Central this year because they didn't make any moves in the offseason. The Giants are in the worst division you can be in baseball. And then the Twins are in a highly competitive division. So for me, who do you believe in more at this point? I don't know. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, middle of the game. Yeah, that one he was like crying mid-game when he thought he was gonna get dealt and then didn't. Yeah, I remember that for sure. All right, so you're on the Giants train. Okay, so Giants over the Cardinals and Twins. For me, I think, if he's gonna, right, I agree. If he has a career year in the making, Giants maybe the NL wild card. I agree. That NL wild card race is gonna be insane. Although I think at this point, I'm not sleeping on the Cardinals either. They are in a lesser competitive division than the NL West, and the AL Central with the Twins. So I think the Cardinals have a legit shot to do some damage in the NL Central. And I think they're better than the Brewers. I didn't think that at first. I think they're better than the Brewers now. The Reds are too young. The Pirates are the Pirates. The Cubs are their clear favorite in that division. I don't see the Cubs giving that up. I think the Cards have the easier path to get to a wild card spot. Doesn't mean that the Giants and Twins won't. But yeah, I'm with you. The Twins, the winning streak was legit. Like they did win some close games. They beat the pants off some other teams. If they can stay healthy, and it's the biggest if ever with them. It's always if with them. I think they could definitely make a run as well. The AL Central is going to be just as fun as the NL wild card to watch. I agree. Cards have the talent. Giants are in a tougher division, and Twins are hurt too much. Yeah, I'm with you. Pretty much what I've been saying. I'm with you 1,000% there. And definitely some tiebreakers involved in deciding the NL wildcard spot. Yeah, or it's going to come down to that that last game of the year, like it did last year, where the Diamondbacks needed one of the two teams to sweep the doubleheader. We knew that wasn't going to happen, but it came down to the last game. It came down to 162. So I think it's going to be that way again. The NL's it's such a gauntlet. But I think if there's a team that has an easier-ish path, I think it's the Cardinals for me. But if the Giants stay like this, they're there. The Giants can get there. And the Diamondbacks are too up and down right now. The Padres just got swept. We'll get to all the rivalry weekend stuff in a little bit. But yeah, I think it could be the Cardinals here. So I'm going to go Cardinals, Giants, Twins for me, like as of this moment. I know the Twins just had that streak, but I believe in the Cardinals, then the Giants, and the Twins at this moment. That's just my personal opinion. All right, Johnny Pareda, backup catcher, strikes out Ohtani on a 90-mile-an-hour heater during the Dodgers blowout the other night. Threw the ball to the dugout so he can keep it. I mean, you're not going to throw the balls to the dugout because you struck out Shohei Ohtani, right? Yeah, I would in an instant. But just hilarious. Guy's throwing 35 miles an hour and then just throws a 90-mile-an-hour heater, just blows it past Ohtani, not expecting 90 to come at him. Just pretty funny moment. But I'd love the chance to try to pitch against Ohtani or any Major League Baseball player. That for sure. Pretty awesome. All right. Bryce Harper reached the 1,000th RBI milestone Friday night against the Pirates. He's the 8th active player with 1,000+ RBIs at this point. Yeah, change speed from 45 to 90. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it. So, yeah. So Bryce Harper hits his 1,000th. I mean, it's no surprise there. This guy's been absolutely ridiculous. So he's been a fun player to watch. Our guys that have 1,000 RBIs on the active list, we have Freddie Freeman at the top with 1,266, Paul Goldschmidt 1,211, Arenado with 1,150, McCutchen with 1,109, Carlos Santana and Giancarlo Stanton tied with 1,103, Manny Machado with 1,069, and then Bryce Harper with 1,002 because he got a couple more after. But yeah, Bryce is steady, consistent. I mean, talk about a guy that always comes up in a huge spot for the Phillies and more times than not delivers. I mean, how many huge postseason hits does this guy have for the Phillies? No, it hasn't necessarily gotten them anywhere, but he is always up for the big moment, and I'm glad that we've had the chance to watch this kid from a young age too. I mean, coming up at 19, pretty crazy. Top 10 talent of this generation. I would agree with that. I could get behind that for sure. All right. We're going to break down the geographic rivalry weekend results. There were 7 series sweeps. Absolutely insane. I knew there was going to be a few that were blowouts, but I didn't expect 7 sweeps this weekend. So we will jump into this. I broke every game down by score and who hit home runs. So we'll see how we get into this. So Braves at the Red Sox, game 1, Braves 4-2. Sales return to Fenway Park, and Sox bullpen still an issue. They cannot hold a lead to save their lives. They can't keep their team in games. I think it was 2-2 at one point. Then the Braves just scored 2 off the bullpen and blew that game wide open. So Olsen and Murphy go deep, and then Rob Refsnyder for the Red Sox go deep. Game 2, Red Sox win 7-6. Ozuna, Olsen, and Baldwin went deep, and then Duran, and then Rafael Devers with the walk-off home run. Devers, like we said earlier in the show, has been on a heater since all of that stuff, since pretty much that first weekend. Even with all the chatter about him, coming off DH to play first for them, which would be huge. Although Christian Campbell, their young kid, has been seen taking ground balls at first base. So maybe we'll see Christian Campbell over there for some games at first. I don't know. At this point, I think I want to keep Devers in the DH spot. Just keep him happy, keep him quiet. That's the only way the Red Sox are going to be able to turn this around. They're playing 500 ball right now, even with all the squawking. I think you just need to keep him happy and keep his mouth closed at this point. And then game 3 today. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm more of the fact that, like, I don't like the attitude of, like, I want to do whatever it takes for my team to win. I think that's where I'm kind of stuck on Devers. But at this point, just keep the dude happy so he can keep raking. That's where I'm at on Rafael Devers. But then game 3, Braves 10, Red Sox 4, Ozuna deep again, and Devers hit another one. So, when Devers, he gets on streaks like this where he will hit 10 home runs in a week, goes a little quiet. But I enjoy the heaters when he's on one because it's fun to watch. But this Braves team, after starting 0-7, they're back to over 500. They're going to be there at the end. They're too talented. They're still haven't gotten Acuna back, although he hit a home run in his first minor league rehab at bat. Crazy. They're only going to get better. All right. Mariners at Padres. Here we go, John. Game 1, Mariners 5-1. Home runs from Crawford, Tellez, and Cal Raleigh. His 14th. It's crazy. Game 2, Mariners 4, Padres 1. Another home run by Tellez. Another home run by Cal Raleigh, his 15th. And then Gavin Sheets goes deep for the Padres. Game 3, Mariners 6, Padres 1. Home runs by Arozarena and then Tatis in the first inning. And that was it for the Padres. So 3-game sweep for the Mariners. They went in there and absolutely destroyed that Padres team. I don't know what's going on with the Padres right now. Is that the kind of team that we're going to see all year? Is just kind of back and forth? They win 8 games, they lose 8 games. They win 8, they lose 8. Like I don't know. They don't really have any consistency there in San Diego. Mariners, I'm going to say it right now. I was wrong about them. Going into the season, I was like, where are these guys going to find offense? I didn't see, other than coming from J-Rod and Cal Raleigh, I didn't see offense coming from anybody. And you can argue J-Rod really hasn't even had a great offensive season so far. And they activated George Kirby today. Cool. That's awesome, John. That's great for you. Just another feather in your cap at this point. But I think the Mariners are easily the AL West favorite. The A's have kind of fallen back down to earth. I think they've fallen to 3rd place now. I don't believe in any other team in that AL West other than the Mariners. I think I'm on that bandwagon. Yeah, and they're doing it without a couple of their pitchers. Yeah, they're 2.5 games up on the Astros. The A's have fallen all the way back to 4th now, so the Rangers are also 2.5 back, and A's are 5 out. So I don't know. It's the bottom of the lineup, and honestly, like I bring up my Diamondbacks quite a bit. When the Diamondbacks have the bottom of their lineup rolling, that's when teams are successful. Right? If they can get Geraldo Perdomo at the bottom of that Diamondbacks lineup to flip it over to Marte and Corbin Carroll, and Josh Naylor, all those guys at the top, the Diamondbacks roll. And that's the key with any lineup. If you can get that bottom of the lineup to get a few hits and roll it over to the top, your big top guns, you're going to win some ball games. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Agree. But yeah, I think this Mariners team is legit, and they're only going to get better when they get their pitching back. So congrats to all the Mariners fans out there listening. All right. Here we go. Rockies at Diamondbacks. This was a wild series. Game 1, Diamondbacks 8, Rockies nothing. No home runs hit in that game. Diamondbacks just hitting the ball all over the ballpark. Game 2, Rockies get their 8th win of the season, 14-12. This is the third time this year the Diamondbacks have scored 11 plus runs and lost. Crazy. First time in franchise history they lost a game while scoring 12 runs. I don't even know what to think about that. I mean, I guess when your pitching is bad, it's bad. But I mean, you put up 12 runs, you should be winning 100% of those games. No reason you should be giving up 14, especially to the Rockies. Absolutely brutal. The Rockies do have a couple of nice young hitters on their team, though. Hunter Goodman, he's probably going to be their sole all-star selection in there. Beck hit 2 home runs in that game, and Ezekiel Tovar hit his first. Suarez went deep for his 14th, and then Alek Thomas finally hit his first of the year. And then they turn around game 2 after scoring 26 runs between the two of them. They play a 1-0 game today. So they used all their offense in game 2. The only run of the game was a Ketel Marte home run, which he's my favorite player to watch right now. I love everything Ketel Marte is as a baseball player. I think he's electric, and he can hit the ball really hard and plays pretty good defense. So that's just personal bias on my part, but that was just a wild series. I mean, 26 runs in game 2 to just 1. Yeah, they did. I watched that. Shelby Miller tried his best to give that one up, but they held on. Diamondbacks bullpen's an issue. You lost AJ Puck for 60 games. Justin Martinez is coming back soon. Like, he's your closer. Although Shelby Miller's story is pretty awesome. He's not. I don't think he's the answer for your closer. I mean, he's doing well right now, but I'd rather have him in middle relief with Justin Martinez at the back. I did talk about this kid last week, Christian Menya. He's a young kid that's come up, and he looks good in the bullpen, but definitely missing AJ Puck and a couple other arms in there. That would make the Diamondbacks just a little bit better. The other kind of part that is different for Diamondbacks fans to watch is that Zach Gallen is not Zach Gallen this year. Zach Gallen has a 50-50 coin flip. He's either lights out or he just gets absolutely crushed. There's no in between. Merrill Kelly had a great outing the other day. Was against the Giants. He was dealing, but to me, it's Zach Gallen. Corbin Burns seems to have figured it out, so that's only going to help. Now it's Zach Gallen's turn to figure it out. But so the Diamondbacks win 2 out of 3. Rockies improved to 8, and whatever that math is, it's brutal. But they get their 8th win of the year. So still on pace to easily be the worst team ever. Cardinals at Royals. I didn't really watch much of this series other than the Cardinals took 2 out of 3. So they win 10-3 on Friday. Home runs by Pasquantino, the Pasquatch. Game 2, Cardinals 1, Royals nothing. Jordan Walker hits his 3rd of the year. And then game 3 today, the Royals squeak out a 2-1 win with Burleson going deep for the Cardinals for his 4th home run of the year. So, like I said, didn't see much of that series. But I do think this Cardinals team is overplaying what I thought they were going to be. like I said, I had them finishing last. I didn't think they had the pitching, didn't think they had the lineup other than Arenado. And at the time, it looked like Arenado was going to be dealt. And he looks like he's staying. I don't know. They got some guys stepping up and hitting the ball. So that's only going to help them. I think they do end up falling back, but yeah, Harrison's KC is underachieving, definitely. I think they'll be all right. I think they'll get there. But they've got some injuries. They're dealing with some injuries with Ragans and Lugo. So I don't know exactly what their injuries are. But I know that they've been off and on with their injuries here. So they are both on the injured list right now. So they're both on the 15-day IL. So yeah, Lugo's on with a sprained middle finger, and Ragans has a left groin strain. So we'll see when they get back. But I mean, you're number one and number two pitchers that are not in the rotation. So pretty tough stretch for the Royals. I still think they'll be all right. Hopefully, for Harrison's sake. All right, Mets and Yankees. I have not seen the score for tonight, but they split the first two games. We got Soto's first game. Yankees won 8-2 today. So Yankees take 2 out of 3. But Soto's first game back, and the fans let him have it in right field. So they even gave him the whole roll call with a couple, added adjectives before his name. So pretty insane on that. But I mean, you kind of knew that Soto was going to get it from the Yankees fans as soon as he went back there. But pretty cool. Then game 2, the Mets and the Yankees. Mets win 3-2. Home runs by DJ LeMahieu and Cody Bellinger. And then I don't know exactly what happened tonight in game 3. And I know I was watching it earlier before we popped on. Judge hit a ground rule double down the right field line. That dude's ridiculous. He's been hitting 400. I think he might still be above 400 at this point. Let's see. Unless he had a 1-for-4 day, then it drops. You have a 1-for-4 day and your average drops. It's crazy. Let's see here. Aaron Judge is he's currently sitting at 402 still. So he is 70 for 174. So Aaron Judge still hitting 400 on the year. It's dropped a little bit. Now they got 6th in the 8th. Dang. Nice. Yeah, I still think the Yankees are the team to beat in the AL. Like I said, I know the Tigers are rolling, but Max Fried is the real deal for them. 401. Yeah, because Baseball Reference hasn't updated today's games yet. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's still the Yankees number 1. Tigers are close second. And then I think the rest of the AL is wide open for the taking. So we'll see which kind of teams make the move to be at the top there. Tigers at Blue Jays. Tigers take 2 out of 3. We get Tigers 5, Blue Jays 4. Home runs by Baez. Talk about a guy that has found it. I don't know if the move to center field completely changed everything for Javi Baez and took him out of his own head or what, but the dude's killing it right now. His 6th home run, McKinstry with 2. Riley Green is an animal. Love watching that guy play. He hit his 11th. And then Bichette and Varsho went deep for Toronto. Torkelson hit his 12th of the year. Good to see him finally get going after a slow few years coming out of the minors. We all picked him to be Rookie of the Year. Coming up, I think it was 22 or 23. Just couldn't seem to find it. Looks like he's found it. And the Tigers win today 3-2. No home runs hit in that game. Yeah, you're right, Captain. They still got some guys on the IR too. So they're only going to get better. But that's what makes that Tigers team so good, is they have so much versatility that anybody can play anywhere. So like Hinch has free reign to do whatever he wants. He seems like he has the guy up in the right situation at all times. He wants to like they're never out of position. It's crazy. They always have the right guy at the plate at the right time because Hinch puts them in that position because they're so versatile. And that's what makes them a ridiculous team. And you can't match up against that. I think he does. I think he does, and maybe they treat that DH spot like a rotating like off day for outfielders. I don't know. I don't think you want to take Baez out of a spot if he's this hot, right? Like you want to keep him on that heater for as long as possible. So I think you figure out what to do around him until he starts to cool off. If he cools off, then yeah, take him off, try to figure out something, but don't mess with what he's got going on right now because you don't want Javi Baez of the past 2 years swinging at pitchers 3 feet out of the zone. So I think you keep it. For me, I would keep him there until he started to cool down. But yeah, third base, maybe. I mean, he's got the arm for it. I don't know. It's a good question, Captain. I don't know exactly where I would put him, but that's the versatility of him. He can play short. He can play third. He can probably even play second if they need him to. Heck, he can probably go over to first. So, I mean, all those guys can play multiple positions. They're going to be fine. They'll figure it out. Twins at Brewers. So Twins win the first game 3-0. They win game 2, 7-0. Home runs by Clemens and Jeffers. And then finally, the Twins win streak is snapped at 13 games with Royce Lewis's first home run of the season. So he's finally back, like I said, for at least a week until he gets hurt again. Brewers, how are you guys thinking about the Brewers right now? What's your take about the Brewers? Chorio robbed a potential game-tying Lewis homer in the 8th. Wow. Great game. Tough way to end the winning streak. Listen, when Royce Lewis is on, the guy is crazy. When he's on the field, I should say, he rakes. The dude's one of the best hitters in the league, but he just can't stay on the field. I would love to. I picked him up last year on fantasy because I'm like, this dude's just gonna rake. I mean, you look what he did in the postseason for them when they finally broke that streak of not winning a postseason series. He was an animal in that series. So I hope the Twins can stay healthy. I hope Lewis can get it rolling like he can. And I hope Buxton stays on the field. I hope Correa comes back from the concussion and he's fine and does that. I have not seen the Twin City Connects yet. Their hat is good. But I saw their last one, the Lakes one, but did they release a new one? Yeah, I like the hat of the old one. I haven't seen if they have a new one yet or not. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know about the Twins here. I hope they're there. Yeah, 13-20 to start the year. Now 26-21. John, how are you feeling about your Twins? Do you think they have what it takes to compete in that AL Central, or do you think realistically, do you think they fall back? How confident are you in them? I know Joe Ryan's been dealing for them pretty well lately. He's been pitching well. I just don't know. I think that AL Central is tough to judge. I mean, other than the Tigers, the Guardians are kind of up and down. They got swept by the Reds. We'll get to them in a minute. The Royals are kind of all over the place. Maybe the Twins do have a realistic shot to really battle for that division. I don't know. We'll see. For me, it's the injuries with them for sure. Brewers, I always count them out, and I shouldn't. They make the playoffs every year. They leave in the first round, and then that's that. That's what the Brewers do. Hanging in despite injuries, but the big but if we stay healthy, it'll be us in Detroit. I agree. Yeah, talent is there. It's the health problem. I agree. Yeah, you're right there with John. they can overcome the injuries and then find a good stretch where they can all stay healthy, I think the Twins will be fine. But yeah, it's good for them to get on a win streak like that and give them the confidence going forward, because now they know that they can compete. Yeah, and this is, I think we were talking about this on Thursday. Like, this has been a blast to watch. This has been an incredible MLB season so far. I mean, we're only a month and a half in, and the parity's crazy. I mean, we're talking about teams like the Oakland. Oh, slip up there. Sorry, the Athletics. They're young. They're winning. They're winning games. They're not a doormat. I mean, the Angels went in and swept the Dodgers this weekend. I mean, like, there is a ton of parity right now, and it's a coin flip all across the league, really. I mean, the Dodgers aren't the runaway favorites in the NL West. I mean, we can see that they're vulnerable in spots. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. It's a 3-team race for that division. Yeah, I agree fully. Angels and Dodgers. Here it is. Angels 6-2 against the Dodgers. Moncada went deep. Ohtani hit his 16th. Game 2, Angels 11, Dodgers 9. Ward, Ohapi, Lugo went deep for the Angels there. And then they win today 6-4. And they didn't just win today. They were up 4-2. Dodgers came back and tied it. And then they scored 2 more runs in the 8th to take the lead and then hold on for the win. So Angels go into Chavez Ravine and they sweep the Dodgers. That's a ton of runs they put up. 23 runs in 3 games. Absolute sweep. That's huge for my Diamondbacks to get Dodgers 3 losses there, and for us to get 2. So that was a big one. This Angels team, Neto is a spark plug for that lineup. I love what he brings to that Angels team. If they can get Mike Trout back at some point, he's only going to help. I still don't think they get out of the basement. Although they are a game back from the Athletics, so they could get up to 4th and A's finish last. I could see that too. But I don't know. This Angels team is fun to watch at times, for sure. Yeah, game 2 was a home run derby. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so much for my 151-11 prediction. Yeah. Yeah, same. I had the Dodgers at 120 wins, but and I should have thought about this, but you lost Glasnow, you lost Snell, you put Sasaki on the IL, who has done horribly. Sasaki has walked, I think it was 24, given up 24 hits, 22 walks in 34 innings. That's not going to get it done. Yeah. Dodgers can't beat the Angels no matter who the manager is. Yeah. I mean, it was a tough. I mean, the Dodgers put up 15 runs. You know, that's 5 runs a game. That's not terrible. It's just they can't prevent them right now. I don't know what they're going to do with that rotation. Too many injuries right now. Dustin May was kind of all over the place in his start. Didn't give him any length. A lot of pitches. I don't know. Glass now equals glass arm. 1,000%. And Blake Snell's that way too. If Blake Snell is healthy, he's a Cy Young. We've gone over this numerous times. If he's made every start that year, he wins the Cy Young award. If he's on the IL, forget it. He's toast. The Dodgers are vulnerable. They are beatable. That is what they've shown so far this year. I know it's a lot. World Series hangovers are a real thing. Even with all those professionals and future Hall of Famers on that team, World Series hangover is a thing. Do I still think they're there in the end? Yeah. I mean, they're too good. And they released Austin Barnes, brought up Dalton Rushing. That kid's got 2 multi-hit games already this weekend. He seems to be legit at the plate. So they'll be fine. Angels won't be. I think this is sort of a fluke. I like what the Angels have going, but they shouldn't have swept the Dodgers this handily. So I think it's more of the Dodgers have issues than the Angels overplaying, if that makes any sense. All right. And that's why we play the game. 1,000% Captain. I didn't see much of this series either, going to be honest. Astros in game 1 Friday night, 6-3. Christian Walker hits his 5th. Josh Young for Texas. I love Josh Young. If he's just another one of those guys that can't stay on the field consistently. But when he does, the dude rakes. He's incredible. Game 2, Rangers 5, Astros 1. Jock Peterson finally starting to turn it around a little bit after going, what was he started like 1 for 47 or something like that, like absolutely brutal. Wyatt Langford goes deep. And then game 4, Astros 4, Rangers 3. Paredes with his 7th and Diaz with his 5th. So Mariners fans or AL West fans or anybody really, how are we feeling about the Astros and the Rangers? Let's lump them together right now. I know my cousin from Texas would kill me that I just lumped them together, or anybody that's Texas fans hates when I lump them together. But are these two teams contenders for the AL West? Or is it just a runaway Mariners and everyone's battling for an AL wild card? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Facts. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I don't know how I'm feeling about the Astros and Rangers. I think they're both too inconsistent right now to get a good read on them to see where they're going to finish. I mean, the Mariners have taken it and just ran with this AL West. But I'm not really sure what to think about the Astros and Rangers right now. They're playing around 500 ball, and I guess that's what you're going to get out of them. And I mean, they're not crazy far back from the Mariners, but it feels like the Mariners are leagues above them right now, just the way they're playing. Yeah, Rangers health in Houston, we have a problem. I'm with you. I'm not sold on any of them. I really wasn't sold on the Astros going into the season because I didn't know what they were doing. You signed Christian Walker. You're like, all right, so you got Walker, you got Alvarez, and you have Tucker in your lineup. And then you're like, all right, so they're trying to build a contender. And then they trade Tucker away, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they're in rebuild mode. And then they make another move, and you're just like, wait, maybe they're trying to win. Like, what are they trying to do? I don't know. And Rangers have the health of the Twins. I agree with this fully. And the Astros lost too much without replacing the offseason. Yeah, I agree with both of those points. Yeah, and I'm with you. Just too much inconsistency with these two teams for sure. All right, Guardians at the Reds. Game 1, Reds 5, Guardians 4. Jose Ramirez goes deep, Bo Naylor goes deep, and then Hayes and Benson for the Reds go deep. Yeah, unless they bang the trash can, I'm not high on Houston. Yeah. Yeah, John, this is a fair point too about Houston. They're still division champs till someone takes it from them after game 163. Yeah, they're one of those teams. I mean, they were like the Twins. Like the Twins were like that for me for a while in the AL Central. Like they might not look like they should win the Central, but every year they find a way to do it. Lately, that's changed, but that's what the Astros feel like right now. So I agree with that point fully. Yeah, the Battle of Ohio. So Reds 4-1 game 2. Schneemann and then Benson hits another one. And Hines hits one. And then in game 3, Reds 3, Guardians 1. Benson hits 2 more and has all of Cincinnati's 3 RBIs. So Benson had 4 home runs that series. Is my math correct? Yep. So Will Benson went deep 4 times in 3 games. Guardians look lost now. I agree with you 1,000%. I think I texted that to Harrison today. I was just like, I don't know what this Guardians team is. They look lost. But yeah, Will Benson just absolutely destroyed them this series. So 3-game sweep for the Reds. Pirates at Phillies. Game 1, Phillies 8, Pirates 4. It's when Harper collected his 1,000th RBI. Game 2, Phillies 5, Pirates 2. Home runs by Reynolds and then Stott by the Phillies. And then I wanted to get to this game right here, Game 3. Talked about it earlier. Mick Abel, MLB debut, 9 Ks, ties a Phillies team record, scattered 5 hits. This is the stat line for me right here. No walks. No walks in his MLB debut. This kid was absolute nails his entire start. He just looked cool as a cucumber out there. Nothing was bothering him. And he was pumping 98, 99, crazy good slider. He looks legit. He looks like he's the real deal. And for the Phillies to call him up on the phone and invite him up for a start and say, you're probably going to go back down. He might have just earned his way onto another start. I think you got to ride this kid until he gets rocked or until hitters figure him out. But his stuff was filthy. Oh, that's sick. Your mom flies from Ohio in the early June. Mariners are playing Cleveland. Yeah, you got to go for sure. He had control of all of his pitches. Captain. He was in full control. Now, granted, I agree. It's the Pirates, right? We all know about their lineup, but they're still a professional lineup. And he carved them up. Made them look silly. Absolute in control of that game. Never got out of control at all. That's how you make a debut. Yeah, it was impressive. It was impressive to watch for sure. So hopefully he stays up. He should have earned another start after today because that was incredible. But yeah, Phillies go in another 3-game sweep. So, all right. White Sox at Cubs. Don't really have much to say about this series. It was a complete blowout. It was the Pete Crow Armstrong show again. Dansby Swanson hit his 10th of the season in this series. Cubs sweep the White Sox. I mean, duh. Moving on. Rays at Marlins. I actually tune into a lot more Marlins games than I probably should. I don't know why. I think they're pretty interesting to watch. Yeah, dude, it's the Pirates. I get it. I completely get it. I mean, I understand. He did. He faced Scanes today too. He outdueled him. Scanes, gave up 1 run, I believe. He outpitched Scanes, but yeah, to come back to your point, Coachman, it's the Pirates. I get it. It will be interesting to see what he can do against a legit MLB lineup. That's better than the Pirates, but yeah, I get that point. Yeah, this Marlins team is fun to watch because they know that they don't have really anything to play for but themselves, right? They're just going in and playing ball, and they're playing good ball. Kyle Stowers is a blast to watch. Soon to be the Miami versus Orlando in a couple of years. Yep. Agustin Ramirez. I don't think if you haven't seen that kid hit, you need to. He's a catcher that went in the Marlins deal from the Yankees. So it was a catching prospect from the Yankees that went in the Jazz deal, I believe. And he is just hitting frozen ropes all over the park. So Agustin Ramirez is a name to watch. That kid can hit for sure. But yeah, the Marlins are a whole bunch of guys that are put together. They're young guys. They're guys that haven't really made it on another MLB roster and has found a home here. So they're playing hard. They're playing well. Kyle Stowers is a beast for them right now. He's probably going to be their all-star representative. And he was an Orioles prospect last year. So good for them. So they win 2 out of 3 against the Rays there. Nationals at the Orioles. So game 1, Nationals 4, Orioles 3. Brandon Hyde fired after that game. Home runs by Lowe and James Wood, his 12th. Nationals win 10-6, and then they win 10-4 today. Talk about a home run derby. This one was crazy for the Nationals. So Bell, Garcia Jr., Abrams hit 2, Cruz hit 1, then Mullins, Henderson, and then Holiday again. Just don't forget your cup. Yeah. I'm sure Matt Mervis is probably wearing his cup now. At least he should. But Nationals just go in and absolutely just destroy the Orioles at Camden Yards. Orioles are in trouble. I don't even know what they do at this point. I don't even think you can get moves. Like trading for pitching at this point, I think gets you nothing. They're too far gone. I think at this point you just work on trying to get your starting pitching off the IL to get you decent starts. But other than that, I don't know what the Orioles do. I really don't. And just suffer through the tough skids because the young kids are going to have to learn that way. I don't know. Not Nationals. Yeah. So I don't know. Where do you guys think the Orioles have to go from here? Because I honestly am lost for them. I don't know what they do. I'm lost. Absolutely lost. But then we got the Athletics at Giants, 3-game sweep here. The Giants completely just take care of the Sacramento A's here. Giants win game 1, 9-1. Flores with 3 home runs in that game. Dude was a beast in game 1. And then had a walk-off walk in the bottom of the 10th, 0-0, bottom of the 10th, gets a walk-off walk. That's also by Wilmer Flores. So he had recorded another RBI there. Then game 3, Giants win 3-2, and with Helio Ramos hitting his 8th. So 3-game sweep for the Giants. Yep. And John, I'm with you. They have to stick out with a young offense, need to focus on buying pitching. Losing Burns was a mistake. I agree. I don't think they could have competed in the Burns sweepstakes. I mean, maybe they could have. I don't know. The Orioles owner has come out and said he didn't have the money to sign a big free agent, but losing Burns, losing Santander, it's a lot of production and 2 guys that you need to replace, and you didn't replace it at all. Not one bit. I mean, Tyler O'Neill, Gary Sanchez, you think that's going to do it? Nope. So, but I agree. They need to find pitching somewhere. And at this point, I don't know where they get it without losing some of their young guys. We'll see what happens come the trade deadline. See what the Orioles do. All right, fellas. MLB trivia. This is all on you tonight, fellas. So here we go. And these, I think, are some doozies. So I will give you clues if you guys get stuck on some of them. But on Thursday, you guys crushed it. So we will see how you do. Here is the first one. MLB Network first aired on January 1st, 2009. The first show aired was Hot Stove, followed by what historical MLB game that took place in 1956? So MLB Network first aired on January 1st, 2009. So first show was Hot Stove. What historical MLB game took place in 1956? Anybody new in the chat here? It was a World Series game. Don Larsen's perfect game. Correct. Nice job. Don Larsen's perfect game in the 1956 World Series. That was the first game aired on MLB Network in 2009. Nice job, John. All right. Next one. It was Shot Heard Around the World was a good guess. Yeah, not that one. Good guess. Next one. Who was the last player to win an MVP award that also played in the Little League World Series? And this is a current player. I think it's pretty well noted that he played in the Little League World Series. It pretty much comes up every summer when the Little League Classic comes around. I know Todd Frazier has played. It is Cody Bellinger. Nice job, Arnold. Yes, it is Cody Bellinger. He was in the Little League World Series in 2007, MVP in 2019. All right, 2 for 2 in the chat tonight. Nice work. All right, next one. Who was the first pitcher to win a Cy Young Award with fewer than 20 victories in a season? Yep, John, it was Belly. Nice job. Yeah, so every Cy Young Award winner before this pitcher won over 20 games. This is the first pitcher to win it with under 20 games. Oh yeah, Conforto did it too. Yeah, but he didn't win an MVP, a league MVP. But yeah, definitely knew he was in the World Series. Yep. So looking for the first pitcher to win the Cy Young Award with fewer than 20 victories in a season. And remember, everybody in the chat, my background colors and font colors are usually a hint towards the team. So if you didn't know that, you do now. So this guy played from, nope, not Carlton. Good guess. This guy played from 67 to 86, mostly for the Mets. The Reds went back to the Mets and then finished with the White Sox and had 1 year in Boston in 86. Yes, Tom Seaver. Nice job, John Carter. Tom Seaver, 19 and 10 in 1973. Yes, good. Does it look Brewers colors? It's supposed to be Mets colors. Maybe I'll have to change that around. Orange and blue. But yeah, not Verlander. That's a good guess too. Yeah, Tom Seaver, 1973. All right. Next one. Which pitcher has led the league in wins the most in MLB history? So which pitcher has led the league in wins the most years in MLB history? And if you were on earlier, we did talk about this guy not being in the top 50 as a left-handed pitcher. If you were around back then when we were talking to Justin. I brought him up. I thought he should have been in the top 50, and he was not in it, but probably should be. Not Clemens, good guess. So, not the big unit, not Gibson, good guess. Think Braves. I know it's some of these teams are hard, right? Because like everybody is red or blue. Not Burley, good guess. It is Warren Spahn. Nice job, Carter. 8 times he had led the league in wins. So he has a win title in 8 seasons. Nice job. All right. Next one. Who were the first 2 Canadians to be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame? So one of them was recently, he got elected in 2020, and the other one was elected in 1991, but both very well-known names, obviously, because it's Baseball Hall of Fame. One was elected as a Cub, I believe, and the other one was elected as Fergie Jenkins. Yes, Fergie Jenkins. Nice job is one. Terrence and Phillip. No, that's a great guess. That's awesome. Love it. Yep. Fergie Jenkins is one. That was the one elected in 1991. Nope, not Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame. That's not a bad guess, though. Probably should be. It is Larry Walker. Nice job. Fergie Jenkins, 1991. Larry Walker in 2020. Nice job. Confused old man. You're from Saskatchewan, right? So that was a nice Canadian connection there for you. So pretty cool. All right. Next one. From 1996 to 2001, there was only one player to record at least 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, and 100 runs scored. Who was the player that achieved this? This guy's also a Hall of Famer. And he was elected to the Hall of Fame in... He was elected in 2017 was when he was elected. Gwynn, good guess. No, not Gwynn. Frank Thomas, also a good guess. Not him. Think Houston Astros. That might give it away. Houston Astros. One of the Killer Bees. Not Berkman. Not Biggio. It is Jeff Bagwell. Bagwell's the only person to do that. Yes, Bagwell. Good. Good, Captain. Good, John. Yeah, jumped the trigger a little bit there on you guys. Sorry. Yep, you guys all got it. Bagwell. Good. Nice work. All right. Yeah, Bagwell. Knew it. Yeah, nice. All right. Here we go. Who was the last player to record 12 RBIs in a single game? So who was the last player to record 12 RBIs in a single game? And I'll give you a hint. It is his 4 home run game. This happened when he hit 4 home runs in one game. Yes, 1,000% Red Sox should have kept him for sure. He would have destroyed Fenway Park. Hard hitting Mark Whitten is correct. Nice job. In his 4 homer game in 1993. Switch hitter too. But those 4 balls he hit were absolutely smashed. Absolutely crazy. But yeah. Not Mike Cameron. Nope. Yeah. Tatis, not a bad guess. Not Tatis. But yeah. St. Louis Cardinal, Mark Whitten, 4 homer game, 1993. All right. Yeah, Anna Cannon. Yeah, for sure. All right, next one. April 19th, 2019 marked the first time that a pitcher and batter faced each other wearing the number 0. Can you name them? Yeah, that was a good poll. Mark Whitten's a good one for sure. So one number 0 should stick out. He pitched last year. I think he even pitched a little bit this year back with the Yankees, and then they ditched him real quick. Kind of a 3/4 arm delivery. Kind of funky stuff, but he's still active. And then the other guy played for the Royals from 2014 to 2019, the Dodgers in 2020, and then the Mets in 2022, only for a few games. He did not play much. So Ottavino is the first one. Marcus Simeon's a good guess, not Marcus Simeon. It is. Oh, nice. And Terrence Gore. Nice pull. Nice teamwork, fellas. Ottavino and Terrence Gore. Nice job. Yeah, first time that they matched up together and both players were number 0. Nice job. Great teamwork, fellas. All right. I got a few more for you here. Who was the first pitcher in MLB history to record a win against all 30 MLB teams, achieving this by beating the Diamondbacks in 2002? Not Jamie Moyer. Yes, Terrence Gore. Yep, nice job, John. Got it. Yep. So not Jamie Moyer. This pitcher was the first one to reach 30 wins against all 30 teams. The Diamondbacks was the last one on the checklist, and he did it in 2002. Verlander's a great guess, not Verlander. Pettit's a good guess, not Pettit. I believe his son is in the MLB right now, not the unit. That's a good guess. His son pitches for the Texas Rangers right now, not Barry Zito. Good guess, not Barry Zito. Not Clemens. It's I think Nick's trying to throw us off the sentence. Jamie Moyer. It is not Jamie Moyer. His son is not pitching for the Texas Rangers right now. It is Al Leiter. Yes, Jack Leiter is his son who's pitching for the Texas Rangers right now. Al Leiter. Good job. Oil Camp Boy. That's a good one. Yep, John Carter got it. Nice. Yep, Al Leiter. Nice job. I can't remember getting a win against all 30 teams is crazy. That's wild. I mean, a lot easier now, obviously, with interleague play, but still pretty cool stat. All right. 6 Dominican-born players have amassed 2,500 hits in their careers. Who was the most recent to reach that milestone? I think this one's a pretty simple one if you kind of break it down and think about it. The top 5 are Beltre, Guerrero, Julio Franco, Manny Ramirez, and Albert Pujols. Those are your top 5, but who's the 6th person and most recent? No, not Cabrera. He's from Venezuela, I believe. Yeah, nice job. You caught yourself. Good. This guy came up as a New York Yankee. He went to the Seattle Mariners. Nice job, John. Got it. Robinson Cano. Yep. It's a guy that it's unfortunate that, you know, the PED kind of stuff behind him because there's another guy with an incredible career. And it's unfortunate. I hate when that stuff comes up and they just immediately get shunned. Because this dude could break 301 batting average, 2,639 hits, 335 homers. I mean, his on base percentage 351. He was there. 8-time All-Star, home run derby champ, All-Star MVP. I mean, the list goes on and on. 2-time Gold Glove. And then PEDs. That's it. PEDs and you're done. Yeah, nice job, Captain. You got it. Cano. All right. I got 4 more. Thanks for sticking with me, fellas. When Sandy Koufax was called up to the Dodgers in 1955, who was sent down to AAA to make room for Koufax on the roster? Yeah, I mean, he was incredible at second baseman. Absolutely. Yeah, agree with both of you. I mean, I hated him because he was a Yankee playing against my Red Sox, but it's hard to deny what that guy was as a player. Absolutely insane. Tommy Lasorda, bang, got it. Nice job, John. Tommy Lasorda was sent down to AAA to make room for Sandy Koufax. Jamie Moyer. It never fails to come up with a Jamie Moyer reference. Love it. Yep, Tommy Lasorda sent down to make room for Sandy Koufax. Say that worked out for the Dodgers. All right. Next one. In 2006, this Angels rookie won his MLB debut and won his first 9 decisions, tying a record set by Whitey Ford. Who was this pitcher? So I gave you the team, the Angels, 2006. It's not C.J. Wilson. Oh, he told that story on Johnny Carson. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. It's so cool how we find out facts from different ways. Like I literally found that trivia question on like I have like a yearly like date calendar and it's got random trivia questions on it. And like it is, yeah, it's pretty cool. It was the right move for sure. Yes, confused old man, you got it. It is Jared Weaver. Nice job. John Temple got it too. John Lackey is a great guess, but not John Lackey. When? I mean, he was definitely over there, but I don't know if the timing was quite right because Lackey was he was in oh no, he was in Anaheim and the Angels at that point. You're right. So Lackey was a great guess. But yeah, Jared Weaver. Yep, got it. Nice job. All right, we got 2 more. Who was the first rookie in MLB history to hit 20 home runs in a season? So the first rookie ever in MLB history to hit 20 home runs in a season. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And these are Yankee colors. So I think this one's, I think you guys should all get this one pretty easily. So it's obviously not Babe Ruth because he started as a pitcher. It's not Ruth, not Tigers colors. These are supposed to be Yankees colors. It is Lou Gehrig. Nice. Yep, Lou Gehrig, 1925. Good. Yep. Yep, Lou. Here it comes. Nice job, fellas. Lou Gehrig. All right. And the last trivia question I have tonight. Captain got it too. Nice. Lou Gehrig. All right. Last one I got. Who was the first MLB player ever to record 15 hits and 10 RBIs in a 4-game series when he did this in 2019? And unfortunately, he was the heart and soul of this team and just recently retired, and the team has gone down the drain real fast. But this dude was absolutely electric for them. And gonna miss watching him play. And I think this team definitely is already feeling how much they miss him. Just his presence in the clubhouse for sure. As their nope, not Todd Helton. That's a great guess. Charlie Blackmon is correct. Nice job, John Carter. Charlie Blackmon. Crushed it. Arenado's a good guess. Yep. Yep. Captain Blackmon. Good. Yep. Nice job. Charlie Blackmon. Yeah. I mean, that dude was so consistent and so good for them in Colorado for so long. Definitely be in the Rockies Hall of Fame there for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if they retire his number. I think it should be. Yeah, Blackman. Damn. Yeah. Listen, MLB trivia is hard, man. I mean, there's some that you're like, oh yeah, like I got that, no problem. Then there's others that you can't pull it from your brain. Like it happens, man. It's tough. But all right. That's all I had for trivia tonight. You guys have been awesome tonight. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up in the chat before I head out for the evening? Anything and everything's on the table. Talk for a few more minutes and then we can go our ways. But Cal Quantrill pitched an immaculate inning tonight for the Marlins. It's the first one in 2025, 118th in baseball history. Interesting. I guess I wouldn't have thought of Cal Quantrill doing it, but yeah. Cal Quantrill, immaculate inning. Oh, he's for sure going into the ML Beard Hall of Fame as well, for sure. Yeah, you definitely have a wheelhouse when it comes to MLB trivia. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been awesome. You guys have been all over it for sure. Love it. I love doing the trivia every week, and then we put them out on Facebook and stuff for everybody to enjoy. I absolutely love it because I learned so much from putting them together. But yeah, let me see if I can pull that up, John, and get it onto the show here. I'll find a way. Yeah, that glove was pretty dang cool. Let's see if I can somehow share it here. All right. Yeah. Let's see. Does Trevor Bauer deserve a roster spot somewhere? That's a hard one for me because I tried. He has the talent to get there for sure. I just don't know if the teams want the sideshow. I mean, we talked like he just came up with like another post after Pete Rose and the ban got lifted. So it's like it's not about Trevor Bauer at that point, and he still made it about Trevor Bauer. The talent is there. I agree, but they don't want the circus. They don't want the sideshow. They just want him to come and pitch, and you know damn well that's not what Trevor Bauer is going to do. He's not just going to show up and pitch. He's going to be all over social media. He's going to blast the MLB like he did before all the off-field accusations. Like, I get it. He was only accused, but if you think about what he was doing before that, before he even went to LA, he was still with the Reds. He was doing all the sword stuff, which is fine. But like he was also at MLB telling them like, what you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Like he was pointing out everything. And that's why teams are steering away from him. And like I said, this whole Pete Rose situation and Shoeless Joe Jackson situation last week came up, and Trevor Bauer throws a whole post out there, and he's like, "Oh, well, are you now going to allow everybody else that's blackballed back into the MLB?" Like, dude, that's not helping you. If you want to, his videos are incredible, John. I'm with you, but no team wants that sideshow. I'd rather pull somebody up out of the minor leagues than sign that and deal with everything that comes with it. I think that's where teams are at. Could there be collusion? Maybe. I don't necessarily think so. I just don't think teams want that. He was talking his way out of the league even before the off the field stuff started. And Arnold 1,000% agree. Many pieces of craft that played baseball, and they kept like this stuff under wraps. It's impossible to do with social media now. I agree fully. There's a lot of teams that could use something. the Rockies, the Pirates, the Orioles, for crying out loud. They need pitching. Take the sideshow with the Twins. There are some teams that would benefit from Bauer. I just spoiled rich kid vibes. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me. It's a hard situation. I think the talent is there. He definitely could, but I just don't know. I think if a team can help it, they're not gonna want to do it. So that's that. I don't know. I'm trying to get this picture sent to. So John sent me this picture of this really old glove, and I'm trying to get it onto the show here to see if you guys have any idea. Yeah, true that, Captain. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think talent-wise, he deserves a chance. I just don't know if he can do it and keep things quiet. That's where I'm at with Trevor Bauer. I think it would be interesting for him to do it, but I don't know if a team's gonna jump at that opportunity at all. Yeah. What else did somebody have something else back here? After that little resurgent, what's Devers' trade value this week? I think he might have just made it so the Red Sox aren't even thinking about a trade at this point. Now, that might change if they kind of start tanking around the All-Star break. Not tanking, but they're not playing well. But right now, I mean, his trade stock's up. There'd be tons of teams that would love Rafael Devers on their team. But I don't know if there's going to be anybody that will. I don't think the Red Sox are going to deal with him. All right, let's see here. I got the glove here. I don't know if we can see it here. All right. So here it is. I don't know if you guys can see that. So there's that. That's the front part of the picture. Yeah, exactly. You've had really talented people work for you, or the attitude and lack of positive. Yeah, it was not worth it. And that the whole team philosophy is a real thing. Like, if you don't have team that wants to win and wants to succeed, it's tough to have that mentality in your clubhouse or in your workspace. Just when I thought you couldn't get any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was there too. I wasn't even throwing Devers away because of the 0-30. I was throwing Devers away because of the lack of attitude of wanting to do whatever it takes to help his team win. It had nothing to do with his 0-30. It had to do with like, oh, you can't move me off third base. And then like, hey, dude, our first baseman just ripped his knee apart. Like, could you take some ground balls at first? And he goes, now you want me to play first? What? Do you want me to be center in the outfield too? Like, that's the type of stuff that doesn't make teams successful. Doing whatever it takes for your team to win, or wanting to do whatever it takes for your team to win. I don't know. So this is our question. So John Temple sent it to me in the message, and we're trying to figure out about the time period. I Googled it a little bit. It does look like it's from the 1920s ish. I got the back side of it here. It's pretty cool. I would guess around 1920, if not earlier. If you look at the pocket, if you will, there's only one strap um, that's from the index finger to the thumb. So you got to catch that thing in the palm for sure. If you have you ever caught with any of those old gloves? Some of them are really cool. I've caught with some with no pockets, but the thumb and the finger had like a rigid seam, so that when you closed your hand like this, it actually created a pocket right here in the hand, which was pretty cool. Um, so like I've caught with baseball gloves with no pockets, and it was around that. It was like 1910, 1920. But that glove is definitely, I would put that around 1920 for sure. Um, that's just an estimate. I'm not. It is left-handed. It could be Jamie Moyers for sure. I'll send him an email, see if it's him. Yeah. Yeah, see, this is Arnold. This was about the time period I was thinking too. Yeah, I put like 1920s baseball glove, and that's where I think it is too. I think it's around that for sure. Um, but either way, that's a pretty epic find. That's really cool. That is really freaking awesome. Wonder how stiff that thing is. Hasn't looks like it hasn't been touched in forever. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right. Does anybody have anything else pressing they have tonight? Yeah, earlier when I said just leave Devers alone and let him hit. At this point, I'm with this 1,000%. You've moved him off third for Bregman. He didn't like that. You suggested that he played first because, we lost Tristan Cassis with a blown out knee. He didn't like that. Now you're just like, all right, dude, like whatever. Just show up and hit. That's all we need you to do now. So yeah, just let him alone. Let alone hit. Oh yes. So John earlier in the show, one of the many Johns that we have that follow us, suggested that I bring this up too. I completely forgot about this. Um, what is it? Rafael Furcal got arrested for they called it a missile, right? And it was just he threw a rock through a window or something like that. Yeah, facing a felony charge for throwing rocks at a man. That's crazy. Aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. And it was a rock following a road rage incident. Oh my God, man. That Rafael for call stuff, man, that is wild. I I can't even believe that. I can't imagine, like, you have such an arm that it's assault with a deadly weapon. I mean, it's just like, I guess a boxer has to register their fist, right? I've heard that. Like, it's crazy. The truck driver, whose name was redacted, told police he tried to block the rock from hitting his body, and that Furcal subsequently recognized he was bleeding profusely from his left hand before departing the scene. The truck driver told police he chased after Furcal, hit him a couple times with his fists before Furcal left his Ford pickup. Oh my God, man. Wild story. Oh, of course. I bet you can't, you guys can't guess what state it happened in. That was my first reaction too. I was like, what has he got a missile for? Yeah. Yeah, a missile. I had to read it to make sure it wasn't actually a missile. Yeah, I'm with you guys. The first time I saw it, I was like, what? Where did he get that? But yeah, as you could guess, it happened in Florida. So I mean, figures. But yeah. Assault with a deadly weapon, though. A rock. Yeah, John, you guessed it. Florida. Yep. Florida. Yeah. My goodness. Oh, what are you in for? Oh, Tacoma, Washington. I'm sure it's happened there too, but what are you in for? Oh, first degree murder. How about you? Oh, I, robbed a bank. How about you? I threw rocks at a guy. That's wild. Felony charges for throwing a rock. Wow. I got nothing. I really got nothing. That's crazy. A Florida man. Yeah, those news articles are so funny for sure. But all right, fellas. I'm gonna call it a night. It was an incredible session as usual. You guys were electric in the chat. Go follow Nostalgic Baseball Geezer on Facebook if you haven't already. He puts out incredible stuff. Hopefully Harrison will be back on Thursday. And we'll talk to you guys again. Until then, watch some more baseball. Hope your teams keep doing well. Yeah, again, thanks a lot. You guys are the reason that I love doing this and we keep coming back. So really, really appreciate it. Love talking baseball with you guys. Until Thursday, we will see Harrison, who, he's going to be sad, Captain. He's going to be sad. We all know Harrison. Yeah. Yeah. I'll send him his well wishes and I'll tell him that Captain doesn't remember him, but thanks, Captain. Appreciate it. Yes. Thank you, Arnold. Really appreciate it. We will see you guys on Thursday. Have a great week. Go Red Sox, go Diamondbacks, go Mariners, go